Media.com for more great podcasts.
Welcome to Dig on America, where we speak truth to power. Every week, we give you the dig on how American history, policies, and media created the social and political issues we face today. DOA is independent media supported by listeners, but they'll tell you we're just fake news, deep state propaganda, funded by George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, BLM Marxists, and
two trailer park girls going around the outside.
Around the outside.
I was going to say Lex Luthor.
I like that one as well.
I like Lex Luthor.
Tim, you better prepare tonight.
Citizens United.
They sponsor every single show.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but
no. All right, so welcome into the show, everyone. This is Jason Dutch. I am here with Michelangelo Feminier. Welcome back, Mikey. How are you, sir?
Greetings, Earthlings. Take me to your leader.
Proprietor of the Invisible Cup. Joining us as usual during Haas's hiatus, friend of the show, Tim Bristol. Hello, Tim. And joining us, another friend of the show, our friend Isla, who also moonlights with Mikey on another podcast because they're like BFFs now. Tim, we don't need you here.
What?
Tim, we don't need you anymore. All right.
Stop kicking Tim out of the show. That is rude to Tim. Tim is our friend.
I'm just giving him Wayne. I'm just giving him the Wayne treatment.
We left that crackpot.
I don't have the accent for that.
You left the crackpot pastor in here for how long? No, Tim stays the whole show.
All right, so let's give Lourin center stage here, and we'll introduce our congressional candidate guest here, and then we'll play a game with him. So I'd like everyone to meet our guest this week. He is running for Congress in California 22, unless they change the number here in the coming days. I know they're doing some redistricting. But he is aiming to unseat Devin Nunes. So welcome to the show, Lourin Hubbard.
Hey, guys. Happy to be here. Happy to hang out. I don't know what kind of game we're going to play, though. I'm not a fan of
Naked Twister.
Usually, okay, that's better. Yeah. Usually the black guy doesn't end up so well in those Saw games.
Look, if that was the game, I wouldn't have been here. I'm like, oh, wait, murder. Nope, no, I've seen this movie before. Oh, gracias.
So the watermark just happens to not cover up Tim's head. So before we get to interviewing Lourin here, in case you are listening on the audio, I'm going to jump into the future here. All right, I'm in the future now. Audio listener, if you'd like to listen and interact with our show live, you can do so. Mikey, tell them how they can do that. Tell our lovely audio listener.
Dutch's address is no,
123
Fake Street. Just come over to our house. You can watch us record live. Or if it's more convenient for your commute, just go to youtube.com/digonamerica or twitch.tv/DOA podcast. You can catch us live on Wednesday nights and come hang out and chat with us.
Yeah, hang out. All right, so Lourin, now that we've got the housekeeping out of the way, give us your elevator pitch. Why are you running for Congress? And what do you stand for in, I don't know, a minute or so?
Well, what my pitch would be is, since I got into this race and when I was thinking about getting into running for Congress, everyone always told me, like, oh, this is going to be hard. This is hard work. This is hard work. You're running against Devin Nunes. That's going to be hard. And they really didn't know who I was. I'm not allergic to hard work. I'm from Bakersfield, from the Central Valley. Hard work is in our DNA. And so when I think about all my life experiences, I had a single mother growing up who I remember coming downstairs at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. She's doing her homework, going to JC to give her kids a better life. She was valedictorian of her class. That's hard work. Her kids going on to graduate from high school, to graduate from college with honors. That's hard work. Saving up to buy a first house. That's hard work. And so when I decided to run, it was like one of these things where I'm looking around. You know, we had 4 years of this extreme division in this country with the previous president. We've lost, 700,000 people with for our friends and neighbors with COVID. And we're seeing stuff going on with insurrections and things like that. And I think we are finally waking up to what the stakes are in these elections.
Come on, it was a guided tour.
The Q shaman got 3 years today, but we've woken up to what the stakes are in this election.
3 years of organic eggs and no carcinogens whatsoever.
Mommy's cooking, no more mommy's cooking. But we understand what the stakes are when people or kids are growing up in unsafe neighborhoods, so they don't have those opportunities. That's hard work, but that's work that we can do. When losing our democracy is on the line, we realize that's not an option. We got to step up to the plate and do hard work. So for me, answering the question of who should the government work for, it's a very simple answer. A government made up of the people and by the people should work for the people. And that's the basis of our platform is a focus on we the people again.
Yes.
Sounds kind of deep statey to me. So you're a communist, right?
I am I actually don't know what I would call myself. I guess I'm a freelance, a socially responsible capitalist, I guess. Well, I still like making money. I make money myself. Everybody's got a side hustle, but I just think there's like a minimum. Basically, my platform is this: all the basic crap that people get if they're born in Canada or they're born in the UK or France or all these other places, the baseline of being a part of the society, that Americans should have that too in the greatest country on earth.
Funny that. I have a show that I do called the Ben Podcast, and that's something that I have to take constant vitriol from my European counterparts about is, greatest country ever. How's that single payer healthcare working out for you? I'm like, shut up.
Bite your tongue.
You go drink your Guinness and leave me alone.
Yes. So. All right. So let's start out the show the right way. Lourin, we're going to play a game with you. It's called 4 Down Territory. We will ask you 4 questions. You will give us 4 answers. These are not political questions per se, but they are the most important questions you'll ever be asked in the history of your life.
Okay.
And we will defer the first question to Tim. And maybe since there's 4 questions and there's 4 co-hosts today, we'll just go straight down the order: Tim, myself, Isla, and then Mikey will get the last question.
All right. So first question, and this is the most important question: Marvel or DC?
We're getting the real shit. We're getting into the nitty gritty now.
You get to alienate half your voters.
Right. I grew up as a 90s kid. So for me, what was on TV and what was cool was the Marvel Spider-Man from Fox, animated X-Men animated series. So I've always been kind of a Marvel guy. I think Superman's kind of a joke. He's a superhero that has no weaknesses, and it was just kind of like. But he also was kind of a little bit of a punk, because when it came to fighting people from his own planet, he always got his ass beat.
Say that to his face.
True, I guess. Sorry, Clark.
Marvel is the correct answer.
Yeah, and just sidebar note here. A couple days ago, Marvel announced that they're starting an animated series with the original animators, the original actors from the 92 to 97 X-Men, Fox Kids X-Men series.
Oh, that was such
and
a good show.
They're bringing it back and continuing it from that. It's going to be called X-Men 97. So
yeah.
All the stuff that spawned the movies and everything.
I made up my own lyrics to that theme song.
I used to read out their names like I was like some truck driver. Wolverine, Jean Grey,
Cyclops,
Rogues.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right.
I couldn't pronounce Cyclops. That was too hard.
Cyclope. So it was French.
Cyclope. Whatever. The guy.
Encyclopedia. ENCICOCDIA. All right. My question to you is this: your favorite? You are. Well, sadly, there is someone on death row who's going to be executed tomorrow, who probably doesn't deserve to be executed tomorrow. But maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. But if you were being put to death right now, this was it. Tomorrow at noon. What would be your breakfast? Your going out breakfast. If you knew you were gonna, tomorrow was the rapture or whatever. You're going out breakfast. You get to choose whatever you want for breakfast. What is it?
I think they're called just last meals. Gosh, I don't know why you're belaboring.
No, but it doesn't. I don't want to
No,
make
it's
it like it has
breakfast.
to
He
be
wants
an
a breakfast.
execution. It's
the
got to
last
be a breakfast.
last brunch,
But it's got to be breakfast food.
Yeah.
What about 11s?
That's a hard one.
a last fourth meal. Remember?
I don't think he knows about second breakfast.
A protein bar.
Yeah, I don't really eat. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is my breakfast now.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'm a country fried steak and eggs man myself, so I'm gonna say country fried steak and eggs, side of biscuit and gravy, with an orange juice, coffee with cream and sugar, and a side of bacon.
Spare no cholesterol because I'm gone in an hour anyway. So
Exactly. Does
When
his body
Jesse
look like
living
it
in
cares about
California?
cholesterol?
Because I'll be there.
sounds like a good breakfast. Isla?
Hey, let me go. I have a good one, but I have to find an image for it. So hold on.
Oh gosh.
I've got an image for you. Give me a second.
She diverts to you, Mikey.
Mikey, yeah.
You know,
You gotta give me a second.
brunettes, but redheads kind of grow on me too.
Well, that's a good one too, but
I would say, since we're making you pick things so we can really tell what kind of person you are, Star Trek or Star Wars.
Oh,
You're on a deserted island and you only get one.
Man, you're really dividing up
Do
the
I-
voter base now.
I know. Do I get all the iterations of said
Yes.
thing?
Sure, that's only fair. That's only fair.
I'm gonna say Star Wars, although I do love. We actually just finished Voyager not that long ago. I'm gonna say Star Wars only because watching Star Trek makes me sad that we are not on a path to having a Starfleet anytime soon. And Star Wars happened a
Force.
long,
What
long
are you
ago.
talking
so
about? Trump gave us Space Force. We're like on the door.
Yes.
he did, and now we have a blown up satellite. Like, what's up with that?
Yay. And
All
follow up question: who's your captain?
You know, if I was in a scrap,
If it's not Picard, go home.
Right. There's only one.
That's what I didn't want it to be. Like, yeah.
I don't know. Cisco's not a bad answer. Kate, what's her face from Voyager's not a bad answer. They're all good answers except Kirk. Kirk's
Yeah.
That's
See, he would leave you out to dry. Like that's his thing. But
back.
like, I'm thinking
I
of
know.
like,
I was
you
supposed
know,
to send a tractor beam, but I was making out with this blue chick. My bad.
in terms of fairness, you know, I mean, Jean-Luc Picard was, you know, he's badass, but I would say Captain Janeway. She was
Okay.
fair and honest, and she like did everything for her crew. So I would love
She
to
is
be
good.
part of that
She is-
crew.
and she's a good prison
She-
cook.
That too.
All right, Isla, you ready?
I sent an image to you on Twitter.
Oh shit.
Oh,
Hold on.
snap.
Okay.
Okay, let me find.
No,
Who
no,
did you
like,
send it
I
to?
sent it. I sent it to Dig on America.
Okay, let me pull
No,
it up
that's
here.
Dutch.
Okay.
This
I was
is
like,
this is. I'm taking this seriously. You know, like these are the.
All right,
so
well,
so here you go, Lauren. I'll tell you. This is the top 20 useless superpowers, and I want you to tell me which one you think would be the most desirable for you.
all right, so here I'm going to share my screen.
Mhm.
And Isla, I love that you've brought the visual aids to the game.
Obviously, I mean, I was like, this
Uh,
feels important. I gotta like take it up.
She's got props.
So
All right, here we go. We should be able to see
Most
that. here.
useful, useless
no,
superpower.
not you. I don't think it's useful at all. But the top 20 useless
Oh.
superpowers, and the first one, in case you can read, it's acid tears. Then there's invisibility in the dark. There's controlling the remote control, communicate with fruit, trash detection, 75% levitation,
Ooh, that's
summon
good.
a lamp once,
What was the last one?
summon a lamp once,
That's it.
bullet attraction,
Ooh.
read your own mind. That's my personal favorite. I'll give you that. Instant hair loss, abnormal arm hair growth,
Okay.
absorb bad luck,
I do that.
super slow-mo, revive bugs, ultra fast aging, invisible handwriting, 1 second super strength, turn into a laptop forever, seduce hats, and desaturation. Or desaturation. You have to pick one of these top 20 useless superpowers.
Okay, I gotta say, two come to mind: the ability to control the remote control
Mm-hmm.
would
could
be
be useful.
fantastic.
Did you have siblings then? Is that?
Yes,
There you go.
and but I think I would absorb bad luck.
Ooh.
Because I say that because my wife and I can go to Vegas, and she's my ride or die. So if I take all the bad luck
Mm.
and she hits the jackpot, I still win.
There you go. Oh, that's the romantic.
Oh, you've turned it into and then the divorce papers come.
I was about to say, she hit 10
Laura
jackpots
and I
in a
have-
row. She's like,
Community
"No,
property.
I think we're growing apart.
Well,
Every-
and the funny thing is, if you absorb all the bad luck, you'd probably actually win your race.
True.
and then you'd be stuck in Congress. So, oh my God,
There you go.
they'd probably sit you in between Gates and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like that's exactly where
Next
your
to
office.
rub
would be.
elbows with Paul Gosar. And
Yeah.
I know you spoke at that
Jim-
white supremacist
Jim-
rally, but you hit my elbows, dog.
Jim Jordan asked you out to a brunch to have that nice breakfast.
See,
Heard you like
I used
steak
to
and
wrestle
eggs,
in high
man.
school. I used to wrestle in high school. I show them some moves there. Should battle for the gavel.
The
Fair.
gavel battle. Now put that shit on fucking Versus. That's what I want to see.
Right?
I'm with it. I'm totally with
All
it.
right, so let's all right, so let's talk about your campaign for a minute here, since you're what we'll do is we'll continue with kind of the same theme, but and then we'll get into the dig topic. So what is your stance on universal health care, single payer health care? Like I know that there's many names, it goes by many names, but what is your vision for healthcare in the United States of America?
You know, I used to be a retirement counselor for the state of California, and we talked a lot to folks about, you know, what their health plans entail when they retire and they're getting up to Medicare age. Because as state employees, you get health benefits for life if you work a certain number of years, in addition to supplement Medicare. So that would be probably my ideal, is that everybody has a version of Medicare where there's a baseline of coverage, and those folks that want to have a Cadillac plan or, you know, this or that extra coverage, they can choose to buy that. But everybody has a baseline of coverage. And since I started getting into this race and started paying a lot more attention to what people are saying and the words that come out of their mouth when they talk around healthcare, I hear a lot of the people talk
Say
about
that. You got to say that
access.
again in your Chris Tucker voice.
Come on, man.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
They always talk about access to healthcare, which I think is annoying because technically a homeless person on the street has access to healthcare through the emergency room. We all have access to healthcare, but there's not a platform or a basis to deliver that care to people in an affordable manner. And so I've kind of started to differentiate myself from people that say, oh yeah, everyone should have access to healthcare, and pressing them on the point, but like, what do you mean by that?
Right.
Because I'm from sitting at a point where it's like universal coverage, single payer, universal healthcare is the way to go. I'm an analyst for the Water Resources Control Board as an ops manager. So I'm looking at data all day. What does the data tell me? And when you talk about data in these things, a single payer healthcare system, there's a reason why of the 190 something sovereign countries around the world, a great majority of them have a single payer system. I don't know. I just think I look at America as like, we were always told we're the great melting pot. So we take like pizza. Apparently outside of America sucks, and we made it awesome in New York. In China, they don't have orange chicken. We made Chinese food awesome. Why can't we take these things like healthcare that other countries have and make it American and make it awesome? It seems like a very American thing to do.
I definitely agree with that last statement. We had a listener comment. Kiara says, the shit does not work if you don't get rid of the parasites in the Cadillac industry. So that's kind of what I was thinking of, something along the lines of that. So what specifically would the Cadillac plan cover that the baseline would not, in your vision?
In those vision,
like
in my vision of it, it would be
like
plastic surgery stuff, like very certain cosmetic surgeries. Obviously, bariatric surgery to me is like a health thing. But people that are wanting to get a Brazilian butt lift, that's cool. I don't think you can do that on your own.
I'm trying to go on another cruise. I'm gonna need to get that done ASAP. The recovery time is no joke.
I'm not trying to be out here to be an Instagram model, but like, so stuff like that. That's what I mean. Stuff that is not directly related, directly impactful on a person's health.
So to clarify that, and using dental terms, you would say that like dental care would be covered, but like tooth whitening maybe not, or
you're not getting veneers here, but we're going to make sure that you get your cleanings every your 2 cleanings a year. We're going to make sure if you have cavities that those are filled and taken care of. If you need root canals, crowns, all that kind of thing, orthodontia, all that kind of thing. But if you're sitting here wanting to get unnecessary, pull all my teeth so I can have implants and I won't care at all, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about getting a grill made.
I was about to say, I do have this platinum grill idea that I think every person in America should have. That's my dental plan. Rob the jewelry store and tell them make me a grill.
I think of what was that movie we were watching on Netflix? The Harder They Fall, where Idris Elba's beating that guy because he's got gold teeth and they need money, so he beats this guy up and takes his teeth.
I couldn't even finish that movie. I was like, what is this, a period piece or not? Can y'all stop with the beats and then the y'alls and then we're country and then we're not, and then just pick one thing, please, or pick 2 things. That's fine. 2 things is fine, but it was a mess. I'll finish it tonight when I'm drunk. Go ahead, Aisha. You're gonna say something?
Well, I feel like I hear that, and I don't necessarily disagree, but it's an interesting standard that, I mean, and any standard could have some holes, I guess. And I think what I dislike the most about our system is that the doctors who are supposedly trained, and ideally they are trained in our medical care, are not the ones who decide what you can actually do for your care. If I go into a doctor and I'm sick and they're like, we think this would be the right kind of care for you, I then have to go to my insurance to find out if they'll cover it. And that's the part that I find to be offensive. I'm like, I found a doctor who I thought had the credentials to address my needs. I went through the process of whatever they needed, the tests. They won't even sometimes authorize the tests that the doctor says you need to figure out what your care should be. And so rather than like this idea of like, we aren't going to do quote unquote unnecessary things, I'd love to see us have a situation where people actually get to choose a healthcare professional who's trained And then they determine what's necessary for your care, not the insurance companies, right? Like, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think you're off book or anything like that, but it's just something that I've been thinking about in terms of like,
Oh, yeah,
what would actually be genuinely helpful?
yeah, it's the same thing. Like as a fear of single parent that your care would be rationed, but
It already
it's like
is.
happening now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't get the care I want.
I look at all these folks in this area that is a conservative part of California. We're not all San Francisco and LA. That there's actual like salt of the earth people here, and they what has bridged the divide is this conversation surrounding healthcare and how different the topic is what bridges the gap with different values. So like me, I would love everybody to have care because I think it's a human right, and I think it's it's personally impactful to me because I had a parent who died because she couldn't afford her prescription drugs. That's like where I stand.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to certain folks, and we talk about like, well, what don't you think everyone should have care? And they say no, they shouldn't. But when I talk about healthcare in terms of economics and the fact that our American businesses in the global market are paying $2 trillion for employee health insurance, competing with other companies in other countries that don't, then the chin strokes start going like, yeah, I guess you're right. Talked to a gentleman, and he owns a company, and he spends $400,000 a year on employee health insurance. And I said, you know what would you do if you didn't have that $400,000 in employee health coverage? Well, I guess I would probably put a little bit in my business, and probably give some people some raises if I didn't have.
Well, there
Exactly.
Well, there you go. And
he answered his own question on it.
So
sometimes, hold on real quick, Touch. And sometimes when I hear that same point, I just tell them like, it's more expensive for us to do healthcare this way. Yeah. Because we end up having more people more catastrophically ill. Like they don't go until the very last moment because you can't just regularly go without incurring that. I mean, even like I think my copay might be like if something like really, really bad happens, like a broken leg, that's still $600-700. Which people, I mean, for a broken limb, you gotta go. You can't just walk around with your leg broken.
$600 is a great health insurance. Most people are like $1,500 deductible for single and like $3,000 plus for family.
Yeah, and
$5,000 deductible for me.
Yeah, same here. I can't get it, Laura.
Yeah,
there seems to be a sentiment in Bakersfield, Fresno, that I never heard too much in Chicago when I lived in Chicago. And it's sort of, I'm guessing that you have the same thing because you're from Bakersfield, but so they look at it as like, I work hard, so therefore I get it. And if you don't get it, you should work harder. Yeah, I never thought of that. Thanks for letting me know. But
have you tried just having health insurance?
Yeah, right.
If you just have it, then it's
can't you just get it?
If you have it, you don't have to worry about having it.
Then you don't have to worry about it, right? But what do you say to the thought process that people who work that people have here, and I'm not saying it's just here, but when someone comes to you and they say, well, I work hard for my health insurance, and I don't think people who don't work hard should have health care. Like,
I totally understand.
I don't understand. Well, I don't understand because all kids are born, I do. It's not my fault who your parent is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And it was a lesson growing up here that I had that same mentality, right? It wasn't until I took my first job out of college at the Department of Social Services, working to get people Medicaid and food stamps and cash aid and job placements and trainings and things like that. And when I started, this is a fun fact, I started that job 10 years ago or something like that. It paid $14 an hour. It paid 13 something an hour out of college. Today, that same job pays a whopping 15.
Ooh, nice.
It was barely enough. So barely enough on my own and I'm sitting here helping people that are getting all these benefits. And when I first started, it was really hard not to look at this and say, oh my gosh, I should be getting this too, because I'm working hard. I'm doing this. Why can't I get health insurance? Why can't I have an extra $250 a month for groceries to feed me and my family? Like, that mentality, I get that. It's very hard to overcome. And if you've never been in the situation to where you've had to get those benefits and see the work that people do in order to maintain those benefits,
Right.
it's just getting the paperwork and everything else to qualify for benefits is a job in and of itself. And at the same time, when we talk about delivering care to people, it is trying to get this mentality of the thought of it's something that you should just have. So when you say, I work hard for my health insurance, I tell them, yes, you do. But don't you think that, even with your health insurance, if you got sick today, you have that deductible. Most people don't even know what deductible, premium, or any of that means. They automatically think I make my premium payment every month, so I should just be covered for whatever. Yeah, and that's not the case. So when I make that argument and we start getting into the details of, yes, you are working hard, you're paying this for your health plan. Let's look at your health plan. What is your deductible? If they know, most people don't know.
But you know what they're going to say, and I'm not trying to push back on you at all here. But what these people here say is what these people here say is, it's not my fault other people are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So why do I got to pay for stupid people? Well, this is the rabbit hole you go down.
Well, that's why I said what I said earlier, and it's cheaper for everyone if more people are insured. So by denying people health coverage, you're not helping yourself. You're just making sure that you are absolutely going to pay the full amount. You are absolutely going to pay your whole thing because there's no one else there with you to help offset some of those costs from the insurance companies. I think the insurance companies are a load of shit anyway. But if that is the plate of shit in front of me, it makes more sense to have more people involved than less people involved, because then it's not so dialed in on you specifically.
And then we start talking about that thing. Exactly. So like, you're one of 100 people that work hard, that pay this money for this health insurance. But how that works is you are in a pool, and this insurance company has dictated the 100 people in this pool are going to have $100,000 worth of care. And if this person goes, well, you have one person that gets sick that needs a $90,000 surgery, the rest of you, the 99% of you that are left with this insurance, you're SOL.
Right.
Now, is that fair? So like, getting in the nitpicky of fairness, I could be as petty as you want and go down that rabbit hole with a single person, but getting them away from the what about me argument and more to the point of, you pay taxes, don't you? Let's look at your paycheck and what you say you pay less taxes than someone in Canada or someone in France. Let's look at your deductions and all those little things on there on that paycheck that's coming out of your check that you're working hard to get, that you have to pay to survive, that aren't called taxes. Or you could pay this and then not worry about the deductible, not worry about this premium.
Mm-hmm.
Then the head scratcher starts going on. A lot of it, a lot of it is we're not even debating policy anymore when we get to that type of person.
Right.
It is not a debate on policy that we're approaching in good faith and having my point of view and your point of view, and we can argue on the merits of this. It is, my team says this. Mm-hmm. So I gotta defend it. And then it's, I move the goalposts around the further and further away to where,
that never happened.
So in a debate of good faith, at that point, once we get to the thing of the, like, look what you could be getting for what you are actually paying versus what you're not getting. A person that's been conversating with me in good faith will say, that's right.
Yeah, they're kind of getting the raw deal here, and And the fact that it takes another adult to talk to another adult to help them understand how screwed over they are with the current system is, I mean, I'm young-ish, right? I figured that shit out years ago. It's like, this shit ain't fair. How is this fair?
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Again, and I've talked about this before with you guys about like communicating with values and things like that, and I've had to try to understand where people are coming from. So when it comes to being a black person, a black candidate in this race, the question of defunding the police is always the gotcha question.
Got him.
Yep.
Well, here, hold on. Mikey has a question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, can we start taxing the church?
You know, if you're gonna chant "Let's go, Brandon" in a church, you probably should be paying some taxes.
Yeah.
Or just, you know, I can't even have a thing in my own church because they're very worried about, hey, you know, we love you, Lourin. Glad you're a member, but
That's what we do. Yeah.
we gotta invite everybody. If you're gonna come and speak, we gotta invite everybody and this and that. Even Nunes, we don't like him, but we gotta have him out here.
Can I make a quick healthcare thing before we switch? Oh,
yeah.
I like that. Sorry. Well, I shared a link, but so one of the things that you were talking about, Lauren, is something that it's interesting to me because the economics are not actually what people, because you said like it's a team thing. So for example, there was a big case in 2007 with this kid who had a toothache and his parents couldn't get him dental care. So he ended up going to the hospital and having like a surgery for meningitis and dying. So like he died, which is tragic. And they spent, you know, several $100,000 on something that could have been prevented with a $200 medical, like a dental coupon. And there's tons of stories like that. And so what's like the more humane thing is, right, to do this preventative care, it actually is more cost effective. How many $200 dental care things could we do for $300,000 or whatever his surgery cost?
Right.
And so it's something we've seen over the course of the pandemic. It's very consistent that Americans in general, regardless of their party, tend to be more reactive than proactive. And so how do we as a country address that issue? Because that's really a large part of it. It's similar like with homelessness. Housing first has been consistently shown to be more effective, more humane, and more cost effective. But people are like, I don't want to give them a handout. And I'm like, okay, but you are going to save hundreds of thousands of dollars and treat people better. Like it's a win-win. Why can't we do the win-win? And it's because it's so reactive.
Yeah, it's what Dutch was talking about earlier. It's somebody getting something for, and I should be getting something. So that's the whole argument. Somebody's getting something that I'm not getting. So that's not fair.
And how do we teach people to be proactive in this way? We
grow up with that. I think of like my kids. Every time, like I got two daughters. One of them gets some gummy bears. The other one doesn't. That's not fair. You know? So I got to get two of everything.
You're literally eating ice cream. That's why she has gummy bears. But I didn't get gummy bears.
And it's got to be the same.
So let me ask you a real quick segue question here because
all my gummy bears were yellow ones.
Brought up. Isla just brought up something that is here in California. We have a lot of liberal cities that constantly allocate land and pass initiatives and referendums for affordable housing. But what ends up happening is, and the Times did an interesting piece on this the other day, that like even in, I think it was Paso Robles or something. It wasn't Paso Robles. It was somewhere down in the LA area. And then this happened recently, and it's happened a few times up in San Francisco, where they'll allocate space for affordable housing in a development that is mostly going to be single family homes. And then the single family homes who are supposed liberals, the administrations there, like the public, the board or whatever, I don't even know what they call them, the housing authority
HOA?
there.
Yeah.
It's not always just HOAs. It could be just the community zoning authority or whatever the case may be. They then go ahead and say, they say, well, if we want to keep our neighborhood nice, We have, and one guy literally said, we have the heart to do it, but we don't want to devalue the homes in our neighborhood. So all this fucking affordable housing, these initiatives and these referendums, they get passed, they get supported, but then no particular neighborhood wants the affordable housing in their neighborhood.
Not in my yard.
Yep. No,
How do
Boulder does
we-
that too.
Yeah, that
How do-
happens
how
in
do we-
Connecticut too.
Or you know what?
Well, tell us what you would
know,
do to make that,
city
to help
councils
get that
do
through,
that,
brother.
do that as well, and it's not only like citizen commissions, but also like county boards that, you know, we've designated this land. I think it happened in Southern California again, designated these 3 sites for affordable housing, but there's a luxury developer that also has
Oh, what do
targeted
you know?
the same 3 sites. Gosh,
Cough,
so let's
cough,
give it to-
corporate Democrats, cough, cough.
Mhm.
that. Yeah, I think, you know, bottom line, this is going to be really odd to say as a Democrat, is that, like, you know, we have a little too much regulation in what could be designated for zoning for single family homes and make affordable single family homes. The sad part about it is it is not something that is profitable, so there will not be a market motive to do it, to build
Right.
it.
Mhm.
Somebody can't get
And-
rich off of it, so
Exactly.
Why?
So in the absence of, this is like why one of the tenets of my platform is like a federal jobs program. In the absence of a market for said things, when the market can't fill that need, the government has to. Why are you shaking your head, Dutch?
Well, no, me and Tim were playing a game.
Oh.
It had nothing to do with you. But so what would
I'm
you
listening
do
to you,
specifically?
Lauren.
Like, who's
I'm
on
here.
third? But so
Tim-
like
Tim
the
was getting
government has to
mad
do it.
because
And-
he's stubborn. I don't know what he didn't want to be at the top of the and have the logo in his way.
That's
But
fair.
what would you do specifically? And then what I'll do is I'll highlight Iceland, Tim, and Mikey real quick, and we'll each ask you a shotgun question, and then we'll get to the dig.
What I would
what would you
really
do about
prefer to do is all the money that we are taking and putting away to try to hide homeless and these designated shelters and things like that, where they have to meet XYZ requirement. And, you know, one of the things, my wife's a registered nurse, and she's always going on about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you don't know where you're sleeping, you're not going to get clean. You're not going to, if you don't know where your next meal is coming from, you're not going to, you know, get off alcohol, drugs, or whatever. We have to house these people first. So instead of giving millions and millions of dollars to a lot of these corporatized shelters that A, don't house everybody anyway,
right.
but B, are not equipped to handle a housing first type of model,
Mhm.
it would be, I would have some kind of, like, an addition to HUD, to where they do the administration, they go out and they do the stuff themselves. And we do it with people that are that are a part of a federal jobs program, and they are, as part of their job, they build the housing in places. And there's with the understanding that this is America, we have especially in California, there are some very congested areas, but out here where I am, we have urban sprawl. We have plenty of land, not next to people, that can be converted to single pair homes. The issue then becomes public transportation. But there's plenty of vacant properties in places that are zoned for business, especially like downtown, that can be converted. Downtown Fresno. I was walking down the street yesterday because I was at a Fresno County Board supervisor meeting, and looking at all these empty buildings that at one point in time were apartments that now just sit vacant. Nobody's in them. They're like 14 stories tall. We could use money to fix that, and that would not have a problem. That would not impact a person's home value, because there's no other homes around it.
And what would you say to something like a program where since I can't, I'll have to dig up the actual figures on it, but there are millions of empty homes in America right now that are just not selling, that are just, or are built and can't be filled up. It sounds stupid. It sounds crazy. But if we have a homelessness problem and a ownerless problem, I feel like these could, and then if the property owner feels like their stuff is going to get damaged or everything's going to get destroyed, then I don't know why the government can't. You know what? Here, we're going to give you $800 a month if you let these people just stay here and keep the water on. Just keep the water
Again,
on.
the issue is somebody getting something for nothing. But
Yeah.
again, look at solutions to these problems that have been other places. Utah, the state of Utah, for example, that's decreased their homelessness by the tens of thousands by doing exactly what you said. Hey, we have houses, we have homes, we have homeless. Let's put them together. And they did just that, and now they get rid of the homeless problem. The thing about it, and I talked to a guy this afternoon about this very topic. Is it the same thing? The heart that the Dutch got to is, yeah, but they're on drugs, and like, okay, we could clear up easily $2 billion right now in California if we released the 43% of our prison population that's in there for nonviolent drug offenses.
There you go.
That's money for how, like, people are in jail because they get housing, they get meals, they get health care.
Well, if you watched last week's show, you'd know why they can't do that, because those are for profit too. Isla, Isla, you're up next. What's your question?
So, Lourin, my question for you on The Price is Right. Where do you stand on ranked choice voting?
I think ranked choice is better than our current model, but I've been getting into like star and some of these other methods of voting that I think are probably a little bit more representative, because there's still some ways for candidates that don't have what am I gonna call it, the sizzle, the pop, the backing, to still win an election in something like a star method voting.
And what is star method? Because Dutch doesn't know, but he's just too ashamed to ask.
You're so sweet to ask.
It is a like, so
what's star method voting?
How can I do? So let's say every voter has 5 stars, and there's like 6 or 7 candidates. You can take all your 5 stars and give it to Lourin, and that would be counted. Or you can say, you know what, I really like Lourin, so I'll give him 2 stars, and I like this person, I'll give him a star, and give him a star, and give him a star. And we'll take all the people that got stars, and I'll count them all up, and the person that, if it happens to be a person got no stars, or they have the least stars, you could either do it like it's usually like a top 2 or 3 thing that they, get bumped out.
Squid Game?
And then, that's a way.
So when you're going to when you're going to rank Joe Rogan's podcast, instead of giving them all 5 stars, what you do is you give them 2 stars, and then you come over to Dig on America, and you give us the other 3 stars, and we're good with that. Tim,
you give 2 to you guys,
so it's a way to
1 to Vicurian.
Yes.
So it's a way to generate your support, because otherwise, I'm gonna be real with you. The right thinks like people like myself that voted for Joe Biden, like we're like, yeah, Joe Biden, and we treat Joe Biden like they do Trump. I was sitting here like,
No, he's a rebound. Hell. He's a rebound relationship. He's not Trump, and that was it.
I'm not in love with you, Uncle Joe. I'm not.
So all right,
we'll circle back to Biden later, but go ahead.
I have a question about this star voting method, and then I have a real question. The star voting method, doesn't that take away 1 person, 1 vote?
Well, everyone's voting.
Yeah, but you're voting more than once, essentially.
Never gets the same number of votes.
You get to measure the strength of your support. So everyone gets 1 vote, But if you like, again, like if you really like somebody, you get to give them 5 stars to show I really like them, and I don't really care about anybody else. So you get to like, so the strength of your support is also measured in. So again, just like with Joe Biden, he's there, so I guess.
I think it would have real constitutionality problems because
bifurcating the vote.
Yeah, it seems that you're allowing people to vote more than once. I mean, that's what it would look like from a constitutional standpoint. I get what you're saying, that you're giving more support to candidates that you like more, but there would be an argument that it's not one person, one vote.
There's a wonderful
like a snacky bar.
A website. The name is maybe I'll look it up at the break.
It's digonamerica.com.
Where there's
that
fair
kind of
vote.
explains it. Yeah, fair vote will probably break it down for you there too. But it actually breaks down of like why it's more representative. Like I remember sitting in a comparative politics class in college and thinking, yeah, they broke it down so well how we currently do voting. And like if all the animals in the jungle, there's 33% are lions, 33% are tigers, and 34% are bears. Oh my. The bear represents, because they have 34%, the bear represents, lions and tigers, even though 66% of the animals total didn't like the bear.
Yeah. And I'm 100% an advocate for ranked choice voting and for not having a first past the post system, because those are the two things that are killing us the most. We have the worst electoral system ever, especially when it comes to the president and the electoral college. That is the worst shit ever.
It is, and it's kind of like by design.
You ever notice that when we push democracy on other countries, we never ever set them up with an electoral college system? But anyway, Tim,
what was that voting system called? That last one you just said?
It's called first past the post. That's the kind of voting system. It's the person who gets the most votes wins. Essentially, it doesn't matter how many votes you get or what percentage you get. If there's 5 candidates in the race, and the top candidate only gets 30%, that guy wins.
Or Trump, in the case of his primary, 17%. Yeah. 17%.
Yeah.
That's what happened. That's not a stunning show, is it?
And I think
that is all you needed.
Maine is a good example of how to do ranked choice voting right. They've been doing it for a while, and they've been doing it good. New York City tried to do ranked choice voting for the mayoral primaries, and they sucked at it because they're not good at elections. But my question is, and this is going to relate to the topic a little bit later too.
Okay, save it then. Let Mikey go first, or ask a different question.
No, he can go. He can go.
No, we want to ask that question.
I already jumped in, so I'm satiated.
Ask a different question.
Ask a different question. Okay,
yeah, because we'll use that as a segue.
All right,
I want Mikey to.
I'm a Dodgers fan and a Lakers fan, if you're asking.
Here's my question. What's up with your Lakers?
We got the injury bug early.
You got Westbrook. That's your problem.
You're probably going to get this a bunch in your campaign because it's becoming a big thing. What is your thought on education and the teaching of not critical race theory, but the teaching of race in education? And how would you respond to all of the critical race theory nonsense that's going on right now with Republicans?
So I answer this question about education and the model of education in terms of economics. Used to be that a person like my father or my grandfather could graduate from high school, get a job, could afford a 2-story house with one parent staying at home raising the kids, and you have 3 kids, and that was fine. The moment that became economically impossible, where we started having the need for 2-income houses, where now both parents have to work for the household to function and survive, was the moment that we asked schools to not only teach our students, but to raise them with the values that the parents were supposed to do. That's their job. And so when it comes to like people and especially the school system, I was at a school board meeting on Wednesday for my daughter's school, and a lot of the vitriol that came out in the Virginia races was there present at my daughter's school board meeting, talking about critical race theory. And it was really funny because like the lady was talking about it, and I was like, oh man, she's making my own point, because she talked about, well, I don't like my kid learning that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson had slaves and they were flawed men. They made the Constitution. That's not right. We're American.
They are gods,
like,
sir. Gods.
In that Constitution, it says in order to form a more perfect union, not the perfect union. So yes, they're flawed men. They are men. Flaws implied. But the moment we started expecting schools to not only teach but to raise our kids and have those values that we share, is the moment that teaching became this taboo subject to have, and people are questioning the books that are in classrooms and things like that in this board meeting. But I think to myself, I'm a person that supports freedom. I like freedom. So you have the freedom to teach your kids whatever you want at home. You could take them out of school, put them in whatever private school you want to pay for. You can teach them at home. You can homeschool them. You have the freedom to do that. But when they are at a public school, they are learning things that society needs them to learn, not what you want them to learn. So if you want them to learn something, you can do it on your own time with your kids.
And then notice how behind they get. And it's so just to when I talk to my Christian friends about this, they'll say like it's very absolute with them. And I get it in a way, but the flaw is this, Lourin. If you ask them who is the only perfect person, and this is not, I know atheists are going to say there wasn't any, but we're not talking to an atheist here, right? We're talking to someone who believes in religion, Christianity specifically, because they're usually conservatives. How many perfect people have lived in the history of the world? Only one, and that was Jesus. Okay, so then you've just established on your own that George Washington was not perfect. So
yeah,
why are they so afraid of saying, hey, George Washington has this Benjamin Franklin list of stuff that's good and he's got this stuff that's bad? But if I go out and I say, like, I'm just making this up, Castro was a murderer, but he actually was a really accomplished gardener. Like, he came up with some really innovative ways to water his petunias. I totally just made that up.
Cuba has a really great healthcare system that is the envy of us.
Well, that and some stuff he did with homelessness, but I'm just trying to make a more silly example here. But I could say the most arbitrary thing that, like, Castro, when he used to water his petunias, he used vinegar water and they grew twice. How dare you glorify Castro? But then you go and you say, well, George Washington made some mistakes. We'll get to a mistake that he made in the dig today. They're like, how dare you say anything bad? It's about what it's got to be, these stupid absolutes, and it's fucking ridiculous. Mikey, you're up. What question you got?
All right. Well, and, I think of it, this is the way you brought that up is, I have to ask about which Jesus is the thing, because
white Jesus.
There's original Jesus and there's Republican Jesus, and
it's the Republican
Jesus
who's like super jacked.
The one
about Christianity,
he has the gun, an AR-15. Generally speaking, he loves. Trump is his stepbrother, that sort of thing.
That has nothing to do with original Jesus, because it's a I think modern, I may catch flack, but modern evangelical Christianity has now been shown to just be a white nationalist gathering ground, to say, around the idea of a Jesus savior figure. But and I say this to talk about the dichotomy between like the Jesus that I grew up with in the black church, because black people are deeply Christian and they're very conservative, but they do not have the same type of outlook when it comes to things as evangelical. And so the evangelical Jesus, I don't recognize. I don't have any grounds to speak about.
Well, look who has joined us, the big homie himself. What up, big dog? How you
What's
feeling?
happening?
What's going on, everybody?
Hasalasa ding dong. Meet Lourin Hubbard, candidate for Congress.
What's going
Gave
on,
me
dude?
the finger, two of them
Okay,
to the
so
side.
Haas, since you've just joined the show,
Yes.
you can go ahead and ask whatever question you would like, although you may not ask anything that has already been asked. So we will let you know if you do.
Really, dude.
Survey
Good luck.
says.
Bing.
What's your middle name, Lauren? Yeah.
Kim- my little name's Kimry. You know what we didn't do? We talked about my last breakfast, but we did not talk about the last dinner, which is
What'd you
completely
have?
different
What'd you have?
breakfast. Because if I was about to spend my last day on Earth,
Yeah.
I would want baked mac and cheese
Mm.
with a side
Government
of
cheese?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
with a side of collard greens and cabbage,
Okay.
I'm out.
smoked neck bones,
Okay.
a nice, thick, juicy pork chop with rice and gravy.
That's good.
I'll see.
I would take that.
He's between
Wash
breakfast and
down.
dinner. He out.
The itis is deep.
Oh yeah.
You can't kill me because I'm asleep.
You
You
gonna wash it down with what? Sweet tea?
Yeah.
No, well, yeah, I'm not really a sweet tea person.
Oh, I gotta go.
I was gonna say
Red
wash
Kool-Aid.
it down with red Kool-Aid is always good. I would wash it down with a big 32 ounce of Honey Hips, 32 latitude 33 Honey Hips, blonde ale.
Honey hips. That's what they used to
Never
call me. That's what they used to call me back in college.
Dang. That's how you
Thanks
pay
for-
for college?
Thanks for stopping by, Jesus.
I never was enrolled in classes. I just went.
Mm.
All right, so we got enough
Always
time
fun
for
in
all right.
classes.
So we got enough time for like two more quick political questions about his campaign. Then we'll play Snap One and get to the dig. So who has one last question before we let Tim ask his other question? Haas, Mikey, what would you like to do?
Let Tim go and give us some time.
All right, then let's get to Tim. Tim,
ready.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm a political scientist and this is my specialty. What are your feelings on a public finance system for political campaigns at the national level? I'm going to preface this by saying you would have to raise a certain amount of money to prove that you're a valid candidate, you're a qualified candidate, and then the government would give you a grant to fund your campaign, but you could raise no more money after that. Now, this is an option for presidential candidates, although no one has taken that option since like 1996.
You know what? I would my only preference with that would be to like the raising a certain amount to show viability. I would make it a different criteria to show viability.
Well, so it would have two criterias: raising a certain amount of money and getting a certain number of signatures from people in your district. So you have to.
I would
you'd have
stick
to show
with
that-
the signature
yeah.
in the district thing, but I think that's I think it's a great idea. I think it's totally would help more people be involved in the political process, because right now I feel like people are so keyed out of the system because they don't have enough to raise money to get into this race. I don't have millionaire friends, and raising funds from my friends is just kind of been a process where I call them up and say, "Hey, man, this is Lauren, your friend from high school. Remember that time in ninth grade, where I gave you lunch money? Can I have that back now?"
Can I get that? Can I get that $8 back, please?
And so I think it would broaden it, and more people would be involved in the political process. And that's the thing about it, is when more people are involved, you get a better government. I think people get the government that they deserve. And when you're in a system now where people, it is kind of like, we want to bog you down with this and that, so people aren't aware of it. We don't, in the last great democracy, election day isn't a holiday.
Oh my God.
Things like that you would think, hey, if these people, pride themselves in voting and being this city on a hill where all these other countries that look up, oh, this is the great democracy. You should probably have more than 20% of your population participating in the democratic process.
Fair enough.
That never made sense to me. Like,
Yeah.
I get Flag Day off of school, but but election day was, like, that's stupid. It just never made sense to me.
Hey, we got Juneteenth though.
Yeah, finally.
I've one
took
follow-up
130,000 billion years.
I got one follow-up too. How much money do you think you need to raise for your campaign? Like, what's the ballpark?
100
So like for our primary, or for the whole kit and caboodle?
The whole kit and caboodle. Like, what is the ballpark for? Do you think you're going to spend
$7 million?
$7 million?
Holy shit!
in a congressional district? Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and we'll actually circle back to that, because that's something that we'll talk a little bit more at length about. So if you're listening to the audio version, you're gonna have to tune into the dig on the next episode, which will be the dig on Citizens United and corporate campaign finance. So
are you saying that people don't
If someone wants to start me a super PAC, they can do that now too.
Right.
Well, that's what we were gonna do right now. I saw you had a closing thought.
Well, yeah, I actually was involved with the candidate a couple of years ago, or their campaign, sorry. And one of the things that they were a woman of color, and they were talking about that women and people of color tend to raise less than white male candidates, and they still win. So money is an indicator that the media uses, and that gets used a lot. And yes, if you have a certain amount of money, you could kind of like tidal wave and fire hose your way through. However, using it as the ultimate standard kind of overlooks a lot of the other resources and capital that people have, and it overlooks the fact that these candidates that are not raising the same amount of money are able to win. It's harder for sure, but they can. And so I think that's important. And that's why I wanted to speak to what Lauren was talking about, that standard of like having to raise a certain amount of money. I think it keeps us in that same system, and it overlooks a variety of social capital and different kinds of capital that are equally valuable and yet completely dismissed in the current system.
She said my favorite word, by the way. Social capital is like my favorite word.
Yes. Yeah, because ideally you want a representative that's in touch with the community that they're serving, right? Mm-hmm. And that community is like here, in our district, Tulare County is one of the poorest counties, not only in California, but in the country. I have a poverty rate of like 20%. So if we're running to represent that district, and you have to raise a certain amount of money, and ideally you want it to come from that district, a lot of people there, hey, I love you, Lauren. I love what you're doing. I see you out at the, you're giving away hats and coats and stuff, and you bring your kids in for the feed every month. But I got $5.
And $5 is a lot to that person, right? Like, it matters.
I needed that $5.
Yeah, they got to pay their healthcare deductibles.
Right?
All right, so we'll
Wait, I
before we get
remembered.
to the. Oh, go ahead.
And Lauren, what is your stance on something like it doesn't have to be exactly a UBI, but something like a universal basic income to alongside with a single payer healthcare?
So I think that we already have a version of UBI that's a subsidy for food right now. There's a reason the Department of Agriculture runs the CalFresh and food stamp program. I would totally love it and I think I would get bipartisan support for it, to have the food stamp program not be means tested, that everyone just gets food stamps.
I like that.
And that way you have so it guarantees that no one's going hungry. And then that way you can use that money you can use your actual money for other things. And that it's kind of a way to get the boo birds that are like, oh, I don't want them to spend money on alcohol and drugs, to say, well, they can only buy food. Are we against that? We say we're against people, not going hungry in our communities.
I think that would be interesting in overcoming the objection. I think that it's an interesting thought. I don't think it's the same as UBI, but I do think that it would be interesting at overcoming the objection that we get.
Along those lines, if I look at myself as a idealist, like a $1,000, $1,500 UBI would be great. I think the pandemic has given us a great experiment to see how stimulating something like UBI would be. And Michael Tubbs' experiment with the city of Stockton and giving universal basic income to residents in Stockton was, heralded as this big success. And again, digging into the data of that, you find like people actually use that money for bills and make payments and things that they need, and not on frivolous alcohol or drugs or things like that of that nature.
$1,000 a month in alcohol? God damn!
They live in hard.
Hey,
That was my college budget.
Don't look at the bar up there. Don't look at the bar.
But I just think of something that would get, because now everything you have to think of this lens of how can we get other people on the other side of the aisle to do things. So I'm always thinking in pragmatic terms of it would be great if this, but how do I get someone who's on the other side of the aisle to also hop onto that train, and how do we actually get things that are actually going to measurably improve people's lives?
All
so
the
to
things
me,
that Biden
Lauren,
said
the
he was
person,
going to do.
right?
Yeah, all the stuff Biden.
Look at it now. You have infrastructure used to be the boring thing that Republicans talked about all the time, and now the 13 Republicans that signed on, the House Republicans that signed on to the infrastructure, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, get death threats from the people on their side. Death threats for wanting to build a bridge, and so
bridges are socialism.
Yeah.
So is the police. It's the irony of Devin Nunes having a sign that says "Support police, be against socialism." Sir, you realize the police are paid with all of our tax dollars.
That word.
Military.
Mhm.
That word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
A friend of mine has been in the military for 25 years, says that the military is a way to get Republicans to pay for social programs because they have everything. They have housing, they have healthcare, they have retirement, they have a basic income. I mean, yes, they're committing their lives to defense, but maybe, illegal wars, whatever. But he's like, basically, if the military system were enacted, then everybody would have their basic needs met. But they'll only pay for it in that one very concentrated place.
Very narrow.
Because there's veterans that are 40-something thousand veterans are homeless.
Yep, and that's
I was just in
problematic.
Washington in September and went to the Vietnam Memorial, and that was the first time I'd ever seen it. And there's a gentleman out there. He's was a Vietnam veteran, and he spends his day talking about, there's 58,000 people that died in Vietnam, and this is, I just want to. He's out there to tell people his friend's story, and I'm like, damn. And I was talking to this guy, and we gave him a couple bucks because he's, in need of it. He's a veteran, and I was like, man, can't you go to the VA to get the stuff that you need for your health and stuff? He said, I can't. They said whatever was wrong with me in that time is done, and can't get help. I can't get the mental health care that I need.
My buddy deployed. He got back in 2013 or 14, and it took him almost. No, it had to be earlier than that. He must have got like 2010. He got back, but it wasn't until maybe 2 years ago that he finally started getting his shit from the VA, and they just cut him a fat check. And it's like, bro, he was wiling the fuck out, like, because his PTSD was so bad. Like, you cannot make someone wait 5 years and say, "Well, I'll just write you a retrograde or retroactive payment here. Here, take this. That'll make up for what happened." Like, he's lucky to have made it. Like, we had to send people to his house. Like, shit was bad, and it's a little too late. I think a lot of time for the vets. And my policy on veterans is, if you don't want to take care of the fucking veterans you have, maybe stop going to fucking war every fucking 6 months, and then maybe you won't have this problem. Yeah.
Right. So real quick.
So basically, if you believe in all those things, go to lourinhubbard.com. We need volunteers. We need donations.
You just did exactly what I was going to ask you to do. So I'm
a candidate now. I'm seasoned now.
Not new at this.
lourinhubbard.com. Need donations, need volunteers, because we're really trying to do something that's unprecedented. And that is exactly what was talked about earlier in this marriage of actually campaigning to people and not just being on, oh, did you see Lauren's ad? Oh, spending all this money on TV ads and things that go to consultants. We want to put that money in targeted media, flyers in Spanish that, like, my campaign manager is Hispanic. And so we want to make advertising by Hispanics to Hispanics on Hispanic issues. What a novel concept. We're talking to Black people in the community, targeting them with stuff made by a Black person to Black people about Black issues, and not give them to campaign consultants.
But we're colorblind on the right.
Stop it.
So you can go to lourinhubbard.com, and then where can people, because we'll end the audio version here, and then we'll go on to the dig topic. So how can people find you on Twitter, Instagram? I'll give out those as well.
Twitter and Instagram, it's at Lourin Hubbard, LOURINHUBBARD, for both, and at Lourin Hubbard on TikTok. I don't do a whole lot of like political TikToks. My TikToks are more personal with me and my kids and goofing around, but there's some I laugh at conservatives.
That's how you get to know the real Lauren. You get to see that he's a guy you can have a beer with.
You missed it. He had a
with
beer.
his kids.
Couple shots of brown liquor.
Hey.
Well, having the beer, hopefully for you, hopefully I spelled that right, LOURIN, right?
Yep.
Having the beer on camera for you has gone a lot smoother than it did for Elizabeth Warren, though. I'll give you that much.
Of course.
Yes, she was pretty awkward with it.
She's got a plan for that.
All right, so let's go into our second little game here. We're going to play a quick game with you, then we'll move into the dig. And for those of you on the audio, it'll be on a different stream. So here we go with our last game. So what we want to do, we're going to play a game with you. It's called Prank One, Marry One, Snap One. What you will do is we will give you three people. I will let our fair lady Isla give the first, and then I don't know, Mikey, can we defer to Tim here and let Tim give, and then Haas the last one, since they were on the whole show and Haas wasn't. So you will pick one of these people to prank call. You will pick one to marry, and you will pick one to snap away like Thanos. But you can bring them back if you have the stones. So Isla, you know the game. Go ahead and give us your first pick for Lourin.
And I can be anybody.
Yeah, but try to keep it to somebody that you think he would like to marry.
I mean, Xena.
Ooh.
The warrior princess.
Obviously.
Okay, so
Lucy
Xena, warrior
Lawless.
princess. Okay, Lucy Lawless.
Thank you. It could be Lucy Lawless, but I was specifically talking about Xena.
Okay, so the actual Lucy Lawless as Xena.
As a young man, when I was watching that on cable TV, it
You have
was
special feelings? Excited
some,
too.
some loins were girdled.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely has some tingling going on.
How could you not?
My
Timbo?
pants are shrinking.
I'm gonna go with Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow.
It's a good one.
Oh.
Okay, and that's her last time allowed because we've used that one 3 times now. All right, Haas.
Uh-oh. Haas got a thinker. I could tell.
Captain Marvel.
All right, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. So we have, you got to pick one to prank, marry, and snap. You have Xena, Captain Marvel, and Black Widow.
So easy.
Easy, he said.
I would snap Captain Marvel. I would.
She shouldn't
It's my
have cut
daughter.
her hair.
She's my daughter's favorite superhero right now.
So
Too.
she's out of
Well,
there.
Your daughter's
Also,
voting
damn.
for.
What the hell she do?
Your daughter's going to vote for Devin Nunes.
What she
She's
do?
Captain Marvel for Halloween, so I'll just.
He had to watch that movie
Captain
400
Marvel.
times.
I would marry Black Widow because she's loyal,
Mhm.
and I would prank Xena just because she seems really playful. But she would also probably like boomerang me with her war blade.
What
She
was
could
her
So
take
yeah,
it
we're prank Xena,
name?
marry Black Widow, and snap Captain Marvel.
Ain't that a
All right,
bitch.
well done.
Then he won't have to watch. He won't have to watch Captain Marvel for the 800th time this month.
Yeah. Higher, further, faster, baby.
Nice.
All right. So with that being said, I will give myself the main screen here. So the rules of this, as we get into, allow me to introduce myself. As we get now, this one I will say is about it's just a smidge longer than normal, but not too bad. So if you guys would like to interject, you may do so. Just yell out pause.
So many
Sorry,
times.
my stream is a little bit slow right now, so hopefully this goes fine. All right, now
Pause.
in my
Just testing.
in my 8th grade social studies class, my teacher, Mr. Humble, taught me things that turns out after doing my own research wasn't.
Ah, yes.
no.
How?
Yes.
Oh no!
Oh no!
The internet
We
god.
lost it, dude.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, okay. So you did lose me for a quick second there.
Oh,
Yeah, for
man.
like 5 seconds.
All right, we will jump into the topic. If I go out again, then I'll just flip to my my phone. So I guess the gods, that white Jesus doesn't love me. So
Ronald
I
Reagan,
tell you
Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
this week we will dive into the topic of how we got to Citizens United and the topic of campaign finance reform. So campaign finance regulation has a long history in the United States, beginning even before the American independence. After George Washington bought $195 worth of punch and hard cider for friends prior to an election in 1757. What a party that must have been. Ain't no party like a Whig party, because a Whig party don't stop. A law was passed prohibiting candidates from giving voters money for meat, drink, or entertainment or any gift, reward, or entertainment in order to be elected. Those fucking killjoys. Fundraising and campaigning as we know it began with Andrew Jackson, the first candidate for president without a prestigious family background, extensive education, or personal wealth. When Jackson ran in 1828, he became the first organized campaigner to harness the power of the media, forming a grassroots movement that enlisted local support like no candidate ever before. Jackson did not seek financial support on his own behalf, though he was an early practitioner of rewarding those loyalists with federal positions. Shame. Shame. The
Best singing on the
1860s.
show.
Yes, it is. The 1860s marked the first time the federal government really tried to.
And that's all we have for the dig this week. Man, too bad his internet went out.
Jeez.
I can fill in for Dutch on this part. 1867, a law prohibited federal officers from requesting contributions from Navy yard workers. That was the first. That was the first instance of campaign finance law in somewhat modern American history. We'll wait for Dutch to come back, but I had.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Just go.
No, you're good.
All
right. It wasn't until the Tillman Act of 1907 when the first real campaign finance reform was passed by Congress. It prevented federally chartered corporations and banks from contributing to election campaigns on any level, and any corporation from contributing to presidential or congressional campaigns.
Now, why is that bad, Tim?
Because corporations and businesses influencing political campaigns, man, that nothing could go wrong there.
What's the worst that could happen? Are you good, Dutch, or are you swapping out?
I think he's frozen again.
He's frozen again.
Because I don't think he can make that face for that long.
No, there's no way.
There's not many things he could do for a long time.
If he's doing that, I'm gonna grab another beer. I'll be right back.
All right.
Are you swapping out, Dutch?
It should already be swapped out.
Well, you froze again, so
we didn't know.
It's probably because it was. But I did interestingly hear that, of course, apologize for those internet issues there. I did actually hear a little bit of what Tim was saying, and it did go along the lines of what we were talking about here. So let me jump. What was the last thing you guys heard on that there before things went haywire?
Hold on one second. I totally blocked it out. Big House, Dutch, let's vote on this. I vote that we have Tim read all of our digs from henceforward. All in favor?
I don't want to be in charge of all that.
Hey, did Iceland leave? Iceland broke out.
Iceland had to leave. So for all you audio listeners, please go over and check out the Bicurian podcast. I think they're at Bicurian on Twitter and Bicurian podcast or Bicurian.com with a hyphen. It's Bicurean, Bicurian. Go check them out. Her and Eric are lovely folks. You'll love them. We love them.
And we love you.
Yes.
We
okay.
love
So just in the
gray sweatpants,
in the interest of making things a little bit more streamlined,
I was rocking the grays today.
I will.
I had to go out in public. I had to switch.
All right. So now Lauren's back. In the interest of since I only got through a couple of, we'll pick it up with where I was at before. So we just talked about Andrew Jackson. So the 1860s marked the first time the federal government really tried to regulate campaign finance by passing the Naval Appropriations Bill, making it illegal for officials to solicit naval yard workers for money. This was expanded in 1883 when the Pendleton Act was passed, making it illegal for officials to solicit contributions from any civil workers or award positions on anything but merit. Prior to this, most who worked in government were expected to make contributions to keep their jobs. In 1896, in the 1896 election, William McKinley raised a then colossal $16 million in contributions for his campaign. What? Additionally, both McKinley and his opponent, William Jennings Bryan, were plagued with accusations of bribery and unethical behavior in the campaign.
Boss, y'all want to know why bribery is illegal? Because
it's a bribe.
Because it works.
McKinley's chief fundraiser, playing on Mikey's comment there, courted corporations with promises of a big business agenda. Sound familiar? And famously exclaimed, "There are two things important in politics. The first is money, and I can't remember what the second one is." Well, it's actually culture wars. But when the public learned of these practices, when the public learned of this, there was outrage, and Americans began to demand campaign finance regulation. In 1905, President Roosevelt, Theodore, called for vigorous measures to eradicate this political corruption, saying, quote, contributions by corporations to any, or I'll say it like him, contributions to corporations by any political committee or for any political purpose should be forbidden by law. This led to the Tillman.
How you know he sound like that?
He's my relative.
I say it, boy. I say it.
It didn't sound that southern, did it? So this led to the Tillman Act 2 years later, which made contributions to federal candidates by both corporations and national banks illegal. The act was ineffective, however, as the government could not find an effective way to enforce it. A few years after that, the Federal Corrupt Practices Act was passed, which required federal candidates to disclose their finances and set up expenditure limits. However, the Roaring 20s saw the Supreme Court roar back at this act in Newberry versus the United States, ruling that the Federal Corrupt Practices Act was unconstitutional because the Constitution does not grant Congress the authority to regulate political parties, and that was the role of the media to propagate anything that would help Americans by framing it as a red scare. Oh, wait, sorry, actually isn't true, but they still did that. Anyways, spending limits were no longer required in congressional elections. Thus, Congress amended the act to include a ban on any corporate contribution to a federal campaign, forcing candidates to disclose the source of any contribution greater than $50 and required campaigns to create finance reports. Side note, this would not be enforced for 3 decades. In the 1930s, a series of reforms were passed banning public utility companies and any federal employee from contributions or involvement in campaigns. This was expanded in the 40s to stop unions from supporting campaigns with the Smith-Connolly Act. Prior to this, unions had been using dues as political donations. Shortly thereafter, the Taft-Hartley Act banned corporations and unions from making even personal donations towards federal general elections, but did not ban unions from partnering with the mob to murder any future leaders. All of this led to the 1971 Federal Election Campaign Act, or FECA, which initiated sweeping reforms. And they reformed sweeping.
Pause.
The vacuum cleaner? Yes, pause.
What was FECA? What does that stand for?
Federal Election Campaign Act of 1971.
And legislation. So fecal. Got it.
Yes, FECA. Yeah. And these sweeping reforms required full reporting of contributions to federal elections. Revelations of campaign finance abuses in the 1972 election were uncovered in the Watergate scandal, spurring a rewrite of FECA in 1974 when I was born. These amendments created the Federal Election Commission, or FEC, and enacted stricter limits on election contributions and expenditures.
Pause. The FEC is the worst fucking organization.
You're biased, though. You hate them.
Oh, they're the worst. I mean, I'm sure you're going to go through how they get their ass kicked in every court case, but yes, they're the worst.
Enter Buckley versus Vallejo, the court case, which challenged these new amendments. And although Vallejo, and although Buckley versus Vallejo lost at the state and district level, they lost twice. Ultimately, a conglomerate of banks and corporations pushed the case all the way to the Supreme Court on the grounds that they violated the First Amendment guarantees of free speech. America. The court introduced the concept that spending money was a form of unrestricted political speech and overturned limits on campaign expenditures, though they did uphold the contribution limits for now. This all leads us to the introduction of so-called soft money. This is money that ideally can be used by Mike Lindell to use as filler in his pillows. Oh, that's not actually true. But anyway, in 1979,
allegedly.
Pause.
Those are actually some really terrible pillows.
Hey,
Like,
they're
Costco.
they're filled with white tears. So.
Can I tell you something sad?
Costco.
I have 2 of them, and they're my favorite pillow.
Of course
they really
you
are.
do.
But
Of
I've had
course
them
you
for like
do.
7 years, and now
What?
I have this conundrum because like
Dutch.
I want to buy
Just-
another one, but I can't
Dutch.
because he's a crazy person. I am
Dutch.
allowed to
Just
like.
go to your MAGA rallies.
Oh my god!
No,
I am allowed to
no.
like a pillow.
Everyone stop. Dutch, it has nothing to do with you liking the damn pillow by the obvious white supremacists. The problem is you haven't thrown away a pillow in 7 years. Bro, 3 years max. Rotate them bad
No,
boys. It's
I've
all
had 'em
kinds
for-
of stuff.
I've had-
It's the
I've had 'em for a while.
principalities, man. Like Big
Man,
I
that
went out-
pillow-
Someone needs to
I went
keep.
out and I
Someone needs
bought-
to keep these mattress places.
I went out and I
in-
bought this one, which is also a foam pillow because I won't buy his.
Your
That pillow
pillow
sucks
about
compared to the
your
old one.
pillow about this thick, and for you audio people, I'm holding up 3 sheets of paper. That's as thick as your pillow is right
His
now.
pillow
After
has his-
seven
His
years
pillow
of
has
your
his
big
ear print
noggin.
in it. His
That's
ear
what I'm
print is in
saying.
that
You got a
pillow, dude.
booty ear groove worked into your damn. Get rid of it, bro. Get
Stop
a new
hating
one.
on my pillows. Anyway, in 1979, as a result of the FEC now enforcing rules, aka law and order, I swear I heard that somewhere before, national and local parties began directly funding, quote, party building, aka expenses that weren't specifically tied to a particular campaign. At the federal level, unlimited donations from corporations and unions, sources that were otherwise prohibited, flowed in at record levels. In 1992, Bush 1 vetoed a bill that would have provided public financing for congressional candidates and did so without asking us to read his lips. But back to pillows. I mean, soft money. Both parties took the raising of soft money to new levels in the 90s. I guess they blew up alongside gangster rap, soliciting donations from corporations that were supposed to be used for party building and using them for whatever the hell they wanted, similar to Kenneth Copeland needing that third jet. This was particularly clear in Bill Clinton's reelection, with big donors being given overnight stays in the Lincoln bedroom and other favors, like personal saxophone lessons from Bill himself.
Oh shit!
Okay, no evidence there, but I guarantee he did it.
Personal
Congress
sax
didn't-
lessons,
White
huh?
House.
Congress did investigate Clinton, of course, but he was an elite and thus no change in the law. Finally, the 2002 Mccain Feingold Act explicitly prohibited party soft money and imposed disclosure requirements on funding restrictions on, quote, electioneering communications. It also included the stand by your ad clause that requires candidates to state their approval at either the beginning or end of an ad. Let's do Tim's ad. I'm Tim Bristol, and I support this grilled cheese. Of course, this law was whittled away and challenged over time by more and more elites. With the exception of McCain himself, Bernie Sanders, and a couple others, the law had little popularity among corporate lobbyists, PACs, churches, and members of government. And now for the and now for the major upheaval in the terrain of money and politics. The Supreme Court in 2010 ruled 5-4 that corporations may make unlimited expenditures encouraging votes for or against specific candidates, so long as they're not coordinating with the candidates or parties. The Citizens United decision nullified restrictions on direct corporations that had stood since 1907 at the beginning of the day. The court's majority claimed donor disclosure would bring transparency to funds and eliminate soft money in lieu of hard money. However, Citizens United helped usher in the era of the super PAC, an explosion in political spending by nonprofits that won't disclose donors, aka dark money. So we got rid of
dark.
soft money.
It's dark now, huh? It's dark now that it's bad.
Hey, you got to blame the court.
See.
Got rid of soft, and now it's dark. So now it's bad money. Effectively,
Now it's bad.
Did
They call it-
they do
they
that
call
on
it-
Black Wednesday, on Black Monday too?
they did.
Did they wear
call it
black
big-
hats and black coats?
They call it big house money.
Practice black magic?
Effectively, this decision
Were they
stated
infected with the back plague?
they were. Effectively, the Citizens United decision stated that corporations are people. Oddly, Montana, of all fucking states, put on their Superman cape and blocked the Citizens United decision, citing a unique state history of corruption dating back to copper barons paying off politicians to justify their actions. but this was overturned.
Wait, pause. Did you say copper barons?
That's right.
Yes. So
like dudes who are super mega rich off of copper mines?
Yes, and they were paying off politicians in Montana. That's exactly correct.
In pennies.
So they said because they have this unique
Back up this
history
train load
of
of
corruption,
pennies.
yeah, up to your door, because they had this unique history of fraud, they were like, no, this won't work for us. But of course, that was overturned a year later and cemented Citizens United as the law in both federal and state elections. So there is your dig on the birth of Citizens United. We'll go to Lourin on this in a second, but first, because this is your area, Tim, add anything else that you think was missed, or elaborate for us, and then we'll go to Lourin.
Okay, so there's two other court cases that are important for campaign finance. One is McConnell v. FEC, and this one is before Citizens United, where the Supreme Court upheld the ban on soft money used by national party committees. But the justices saw, and this is actually what Justice Stevens wrote, money like water will always find an outlet. And the government is justified in taking steps to prevent loopholes and contribution limits. And the court found that both provisions of upholding bans on contribution limits and soft money were faithfully intended to prevent corruption of party committees. Now, this law also, the court also rejected the argument that Congress exceeded its authority to regulate elections under under Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution. The court did uphold the restrictions on corporations and unions to their use of money for electioneering communication. So before Citizens United, in McConnell versus FEC, the court did uphold the bans that Citizens United.
Is that Mitch McConnell?
Yeah, it was Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell sued the FEC for campaign finance reform, and then he did. And the Citizens United, what it exactly did was it stripped away the limits on electioneering, contribution limits, and expenditure limits by corporations and unions. So while corporations were also prevented from doing this, unions were too, and that was a big thing because giving corporations free speech was a lot bigger than giving unions free speech in political money. Unions are like the lesser organization here, and they got sort of like strangled off by the corporations once they got this freedom. The other important Supreme Court decision was after Citizens United, and this is Mccutcheon versus FEC. This centered around contribution limits imposed on citizens giving to political campaigns. The plaintiffs argued that the limit on contributions to individual candidates and the total aggregate limits were violating their First Amendment rights. And the court upheld the limit on individual candidates, but they threw out the limit on the aggregate total that you're allowed to contribute. So let's say you want to contribute to Lourin's campaign, you can only give him so much money, but you can spread out all your money among whatever candidates you want as long as you don't go beyond their individual limits.
So what is the limit currently?
I do not know that. It goes up as time goes on because, inflation and all that.
Isn't it 1,300?
Oh, that goes up, but
Just
the minimum wage doesn't go with inflation.
per election.
There you go.
That's interesting. That's
Okay.
interesting.
2,900 for all candidates for
one candidate. It's 2,900 for one candidate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So make your checks to Lourin payable for $28.99, like Earl Scheib. And real quick, before we get to Lourin, do you want to say anything, Tim, about the right to life, Massachusetts Citizens for Life, or Michigan Chamber of Commerce? Either of those FEC cases, because those were.
I actually hadn't heard of those. The only other one I heard of was freespeech.org versus FEC, and that was along the same lines as Citizens United.
So Michigan Chamber of Commerce, just real quick, sued to knock down a statute prohibiting it from using general treasury funds to pay for an ad
Oh.
supporting a state candidate.
Yeah.
The Chamber of Commerce argued that because it is a nonprofit corporation, the regulation violated its rights to free speech. But the Supreme Court in that case disagreed because the Michigan Chamber of Commerce was different from the type of group that was involved in FEC versus Massachusetts Citizens for Life, which was a nonprofit that won its case against the FEC. So the court in that case carved out a narrowly defined exception to, it says here from the case itself, the court has carved out a narrowly defined exception to the prohibition of corporations using general treasury funds to pay for express advocacy available to nonprofit corporations that do not accept business corporation funding, which the Chamber of Commerce did. So, Lourin.
I was going to say there's one more thing.
Okay.
When we talk about the Supreme Court cases, the most important Supreme Court case is not Citizens United. It's Buckley versus Vallejo.
Buckley, yeah.
Every court case that I've looked up in both Connecticut and Maine when I was researching their public financing laws, every challenge has been based on Buckley versus Vallejo. Because Buckley versus Vallejo centers around what the government can and can't do when it comes to regulating campaign finance. Whenever someone tries to set up a campaign finance, a public financing campaign, it always has to be voluntary because of Buckley versus Vallejo. You can't compel candidates to do this. So they have to voluntarily go into the program, and that is entirely because of Buckley versus Vallejo. And the same thing with when it comes to the constitutionality of any like matching funds programs, where if you raise a certain amount, the government will give you a certain amount of money to match what you raised. It all has to be voluntary, and you can't give additional money after you give out that grant. So Buckley versus Vallejo is very important for campaign finance reform.
Mr. Lourin, your thoughts on the FEC and like on this week's dig?
Well, this week's dig topic I think is very centered around what we need to get rid of is big money in politics, because we can't do literally anything else until we do that. So when it comes to all the things that we talked about earlier about healthcare reform or enacting policies around education or this or that, we're not going to do it until we get big money out of politics. And we're seeing it play out in real time with Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. You would think that Democrats would be all about doing stuff. Hey, our party's in power. We should, do some of these things. But with those two in particular, in the way they're set up in the Senate, they are beholden to their donors, and it's very clearly, very obvious that they are. So to me, the big issue is bucking filibuster rules and passing some kind of voting rights legislation, and just deal with the consequences of after. But the other big issue is we're seeing play out is campaign finance reform, and I think about was it like 2020 where 40% of the total contributions to candidates came from donors that were able to give $10,000 or more.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
That represents literally less than 100th percent, 0.01% of the U.S. total population. They're having that much influence in our politics.
Mm-hmm.
Sheldon Adelson.
So you're saying that 0.01% of the U.S. population is paying 22% of the total income given to candidates.
It's funding 40% of candidates.
Oh,
damn.
How does that ever cause anything that be remotely close to corruption? I can't see it.
I don't understand. Yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
that's
let's see how it's
40% of $14 billion. That was the total amount spent in 2020. by all campaigns. It's $14 billion.
Yikes.
Yeah. What's his name? Sheldon Adelson, that Republican donor.
No, the Republican version of George Soros.
Yeah, the Republican George Soros got a pretty good return on his money. Donating, he got $700 million in the flip for the Trump tax cuts in 2017, and took that 700 and flipped in $100 million into donations to candidates and campaigns.
Oh,
that's a cool 700% return on investment on $100 million. When you think of it that way. And so there's, by and large, we have a system where one person puts their finger on the scale and dictates what other candidates, even the conversation that candidates have on different topics because of the influence of money.
How is this impacting your campaign against Devin Nunes?
This is, a very interesting question. Devin Nunes is a prolific campaign fundraiser. He's got 11 million cash on hand right now as we speak. I personally don't think I'm actually going to end up running against Devin Nunes. I think he's going after the big fish. I think he's sitting around waiting to announce that he's going to run for president in 2024.
Are you fucking serious?
I am. He raises a lot of money, and none of it, very little of it, comes from actually in the district. It's all out of state money.
Oh, Jesus.
And the funny story, back in, this would be like July, August. I announced my campaign in June. So July, August, I was approached. I got an email from somebody and had a conversation with someone, and they were like, "Hey, we looked at we saw your website, and we heard you on this candidate forum, and we like what you have to say. How strong is your position on this health topic?" It's like, it's my number one issue. It's the thing that spurred me into the race is trying to fix our healthcare system. Well, what if where can we get some ground on that? We have a couple folks who are really interested in you. That's one aspect of your campaign that they're not so hot on. And then I stopped replying back, but it's just like, it's already there, and it's from these random people that, I represent such and such coalition of whoever.
How
groups you've never heard
strong
of.
Are you willing to whore yourself out just a little bit?
Yeah.
You don't have to do the whole thing. Just drop to one knee.
Yeah. We can make you change that thing. We have lots of friends who are able to.
If we just
to
soften
give
your
to you.
position on this one thing,
Should tell them, I'm definitely willing to go further to the left on this. So, why do they think I'm too far to the right?
And part of my and this was kind of like the advice. This is how gangsta my wife is. She said, "Yeah, take their money, and then when it comes time, just say fuck them."
like they do the other way
well,
around.
I don't know if I can do all that, but
you should just run as a hardcore Republican, go all hard against Black Lives Matter. Tell us how they're terrorists, and then as soon as you get into office, you say psych.
Got it.
That was a thing. I have a lot of my Bakersfield family that was like, I got two words for you, Lourin. Tim Scott. That could be you. You just got to get rid of these lefty ideas of yours.
You could be the Hodge twins.
But unfortunately, I care about people. It's the sad thing. Well, I shouldn't say I care about people. I care about people in the sense that I want everyone to have a good life, good opportunities, and this and that. But also, like, don't come up to me when I'm at the line for In-N-Out because I don't know you and I don't. Hey.
It's a long ass line too.
They just get behind you and just start rattling on their fucking crazy ideas. It's like, yeah.
They
must be dropping fresh fries. They must be dropping fresh fries right now because I should be out of here. I gotta go. This guy's better.
I'm a country fan, right? It's actually I felt kind of cool that someone actually knew who I was. We were at this this little concert thing or whatever, and somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, you're Lourin, right?" I went, "Yeah, that's me." And "Heard you're running." Like, yeah, I'm running for Congress. And, oh, well, you're going to lose, but I admire you running. And that I was like, well, thanks for that. I just,
thank you. I think
trying to do my part for America. Oh, for America. We started talking about stuff, and he ended up getting me a Bud Light. So we started talking about Garth Brooks and all kinds of stuff. And,
so a near beer. He got you a near beer,
right?
You got me a little dirty water.
That's a little diet piss beer.
But
sink water light. Come on, guys.
Real quick, Big Haas. Since you joined us late, I want this
motherfucker just got to keep drunk.
Your reflection. I'm gonna nail it home every week. How dare you choose your job?
Working.
How dare you choose your job over your hobby? I mean,
I made
my God.
children puke today. I made children puke today.
And then you gave the puke.
You will not dim my brightness.
And then you sold the puke to Hillary Clinton, who drank it.
Was it your goal to make children puke today? Like, you woke up and said, "I'm going to make children puke today"?
No.
But if ever runs for office,
he was halfway inside the garbage can. I should show y'all the picture. It was great.
I almost puked, but that was my fault.
Yeah, you did.
So, Haas, your reflections on money in politics. What are your thoughts?
Fuck it.
Next question.
Corporations, here's the thing. When you allow big money people and corporations to just stuff gobs of cash into human beings' pockets who are running for office that are supposed to represent a constituency largely comprised of people who don't have gobs of money to push into people's pockets, who are those human beings that are running for public office going to actually represent? It's a really simple question. It's a really simple answer. And that is why you shouldn't have it. Because this is wrong. This is 100% wrong. Because then you don't have people making laws for their constituency or trying to deal with issues for their constituency. You have people talking shit on either side to their constituency, but bending over the fucking desk for the donors, the big money donors. Okay? So it shouldn't be there. That's like if you're buying a car and if you're selling a car and you know that John already has 100 cars, but he's got $100,000 for a $12,000 car, but Jim really needs this car to fucking get to work and survive, but he's only got $11,000. Who you think they're gonna sell the car to?
That extra $1,000.
Who are they really representing?
Yep.
So I mean, it's and the people that defend it, and I hate when poor people defend rich people shit.
Oh, so frustrating.
Oh, that's
You're not going to be rich in 6 months.
If Trump found a way to hide $600 million, that's just smart business. You ain't got $600. and you're paying
Right.
taxes on that $600. You're gonna defend a motherfucker that got out of paying taxes on $600 million? What the fuck kind of sense does that make?
Yeah, you really only got like $475.
Right.
Right.
You're gonna pay taxes on $600 and defend a dude that just figured out, oh, if I do this, I can hide this $600 million in this loophole that was created by a politician that was working for a motherfucker that had $600 million to hide.
Right.
That's how it works. And that
is how it works.
boggles my mind. It boggles my mind when people defend rich people shit.
Well, you get to the concept of everyone trying to keep up with the Joneses, and
But there's no way to keep up if you only got $475 in your account. You ain't keeping
yeah,
up.
but we live in a society of credit, and this idea that we're just out of luck millionaires, and that's why we're not rich. Is
If we
we're
just work hard enough.
Yeah, not realizing, maybe not wanting to recognize that, Trump got this big handout from his dad, and his dad bailed him out
How many times he got bailed out by his pops throughout his career? They would hide the loans. They would hide the loans so it didn't look like it was coming from his dad, but it was coming from his fucking father.
How do you bankrupt a casino? They literally just take people.
Right. Multiple casinos.
That seems like the easiest gig.
Right. That's like Homer Simpson at the goddamn nuclear factory. Just pushing buttons.
Just one button.
Real quick, Mikey, I do want to get your thoughts on this whole thing, because I know you have strong opinions. Then we'll close it out with Lauren and Tim.
Mikey loves corporate donations.
Yeah, you love corporate donations. You say that they're great, right?
I mean, I'm a big fan from afar. No, it's another one of those reasons why young people are not interested in politics, is because as soon as they get their toe in the water, they realize that these PACs are funding the people that they can't stand. They find somebody that they like, that person runs, and they get absolutely obliterated. And what it boils down to is no one's heard of their candidate except for them and their friends.
Yeah.
And no one knows what their stance on the issues is. No one's even been given the opportunity. And that's kind of one of the good things about like TikTok, Twitter, social media and stuff like that, is it kind of levels that playing field, because that money doesn't really translate into the same thing anymore. Thanks to us whippersnappers with our smartphones, right? It's a different day and age when I can literally just like at Lourin and ask him a question.
Right.
Versus I'm getting, bombarded with TV ads. You know how long it's been in mailers? You know how long it's been since I've actually read anything in the mail that didn't have my name on it, or watched
current
TV
resident. Your name is so current resident.
Oh, current. Bloop, right into the trash. That's what I got.
I got one that said postal customer and then a number, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
But here's the thing. It's like, and Mikey, so could we get possibly? Do you think, like, we won't even go with Devin Nunes? Do you think we could get Nancy Pelosi on this podcast?
Hell no.
For what?
Of course not. I'm just saying she wouldn't even bother with this podcast.
Oh no.
But the people that we have on, we had Bruno Amato on, who's running in Bakersfield, who, by the way, Lauren, I can hook you up with. You guys are close enough together where it might make some sense. Shahid, who ran against Nancy Pelosi, Alan Ellison, who's running a grassroots campaign, all these guys who have been on the show, Jesse Felipe. Over the years, we've had probably 20 candidates on this show. None of them have been what you would call household names. And what it boils down to is that once you get too big for your britches, you lose connection with the people. Would you agree?
Well, of course you did it right.
It's too late there, but it's okay.
But yeah, and especially for, again, people of my ilk, us Gen Xers into millennials, we know the song and dance, man. Like, the one thing that never works on our generation, especially if people are selling things, is if we feel like you're trying to sell us something. Like, we grew up in the whole advertising culture. We don't want to be advertised to at all. Like the whole, like that 5 seconds I have to wait on YouTube to skip something is the worst 5 seconds
Yeah,
of my day.
yeah.
And
I even pay to not have ads.
right. I will give you money for no, even if I don't use the service, as long as you don't show me commercials, because I just hate them. And everyone around we hate that kind of marketing. We hate it. We would much rather see them on a podcast, be able to look at their Twitter, see what kind of funny stuff they're posting, or if they have anything serious, if they can inform me on something. Like, we have a much more direct way of doing things. So I'm hoping that we may not have to get rid of the campaign financing stuff, only for the fact that that money that they would spend, you can spend all you want on Twitter. If your shit ain't popping, your shit ain't popping. If you're not connected with people,
Right.
you can buy as many followers as you want. You can trick the algorithm as many times as you want. I'll just block you. And I can what's it called? A la carte my media intake. So if I don't want to hear from you, I won't.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the.
And Lourin, real quick. So just based on what he just said, I want you to address this.
He was already answering.
Yeah, I guess I stepped on you, but I apologize. But I'm gonna
Habitual.
spit this out anyway. The Democratic Party, look, you are way more progressive than I think corporate Democrats are comfortable with. You might not be as far left as one guy, or whatever, but you know that you, Alan, Bruno, all these guys, Brent, Jesse, they're going to, just like what happened to Shahid, right? You don't know this, but Shahid ran against Nancy Pelosi, and the corporate Democrats went ballistic trying to fuck him over. You know they're going to come for you because you are more dangerous to the Democratic establishment than Devin Nunes is. You need to know that this is true, and they're going to come and they're going to rally against you. What's your plan?
They're going to use this show against you. And he was in there with some fool named Mikey Famine talking about Star Wars.
He drank a beer and talked about Star Trek.
I dropped an F-bomb too, so shit.
Smoking cigars, talking about socialist grilled cheese.
I have a fun theory. Maybe I'll segue. I'll do two-parter. Let me. I'll answer your question first because I think it's important, and it's something that Mikey touched on earlier. Was I think it's one of the great. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth. One of the great things that Trump did was the use of social media, because when he spoke, you knew that was him on the other end. So you had, Joe Blow, who's living in Mississippi, that has a line to the President of the United States. And I think that is one thing that again, I'm not really focused on doing like all these TV ads and stuff, because I don't like commercials either. And I think it's like a waste of time. I think it's ancient media. I don't pay for cable, and I don't know a lot of people that do. So I think the more I can get in front of people or get connected directly to voters, I think that they're the ones that ultimately make the decision of who they are going to give their vote to. And it's not a situation of this damn fly. Not a situation
of
fly,
dude.
I was waiting to make that joke.
I'm telling you.
I thought about that earlier too.
It's not a situation of I'm Democrat, so I get every Democrat vote or this or that. We still got to go out, and our district may be changing. Like people are making a big deal about this whole redistricting process, and that's changing from a plus 5 Republican registration advantage to now a district that voted plus 9 for Joe Biden. They cut out Clovis and some of these other more conservative areas, but we still got to go out with a message that's going to earn people's votes. And you only do that really by talking about issues that they care about. I don't care about about what the party has to say on this or this. This is what Lourin says, and this is what Lourin believes. And Lourin's going to go out and talk to folks about stuff that they care about, because it's stuff that I care about. My wife had to go back to work 8 days after having an emergency C-section with our
God
first
damn.
child. 8 days back to on the nursing floor because she didn't we didn't have a job where she wasn't there long enough to have the leave. So my wife was badass. I had a job where I could take the leave. And so I was the stay-at-home dad, and I was Mr. Mom in it for a while. But that's something she shouldn't have had to do that.
Actually.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I do the cooking for my house and all kinds of
I
stuff.
have a new respect for wives, housewives. After I did that for about 8 months, it's not easy.
No, and
but my thing is that I'm more worried about you and all of our friends that we've made here. I'm more worried about you guys in the primary, because the DCCC, let's be frank with each other, they don't fucking want you as the candidate because you're not corporate enough. So,
I after having conversations with them, I don't think they care at all about the seat anyway. It's a throwaway thing until redistricting is finalized and they see, oh, hey, it's actually winnable. There was 2018, there was a poll that they put in the field about a no-name Democrat running against Devin Nunes, and the no-name Democrat, just standing Democrat, got within 5 points of him. Then 2018 comes, and Andrew Jans is the Democratic candidate, and guess what he does? Performs to the poll, gets to the 5%. So there was all this hype around, oh, maybe this is the time. And then we have another corporate candidate who runs the same type of model of I don't want to say anything too much because I want to try to get these turned off Republican voters, because there's so many in our area. And he performs even worse and loses by 8 points. So
really,
clearly it's the message is not one that is resonating with people. I'm sorry, if I have to choose between an actual beer and a Bud Light, I'm going to take the actual beer. No matter how much the Bud Light wants to dress itself up and try to be more than it is, and try to look like a real beer, it's not. And people know that, and people can see that. And when you're not genuine and you're phony and you're faking the funk, as they say, people pick up on it really quick. And these issues are heart and soul to me. As a person, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that my wife and I had to pay $18,000 in childcare just so both of us could work enough to have a house we have 2 cars. My car's a 2004 that I have had rock the wheels off. I only go to work in it. So we have one car. We have our house.
2005 still rolling.
I have an 07, you plebeians. Okay.
Damn, dog.
We're not living outside our means, but
Tim, what year is the food truck, Tim?
The food truck is a 1999 Freightliner step-up van.
Hell yeah.
Tim wins. So Lourin, you're not taking corporate PAC dollars, correct?
No.
All right. So
we're not taking any corporate PAC dollars. Our campaign is funded by regular folks like you and me. Trying to do the grassroots things of folks that believe in, like I said, the message that government should be working for the people. That the only reason we've had, we're seeing it with Striketober that's moving into November, where workers are finally figuring out their worth, and we've been able to skirt it thus far because productivity is always going up, because people are making companies have been making investments in things to increase productivity. But we're now at a point where if we continue to make the divestments from education, from infrastructure, all these things, that productivity is going to start nosediving. And, to be honest with you, I just, I think we're worth investing in. That's my whole model isn't it time that we get invested in? I'm not saying I want a handout or that it should be, easy. It should be hard. Going to work every day, getting up in the morning and going to work every day and putting away into a savings plan for my kids to go to college. I'm proud that I get to do that. I'm proud of that. But God damn, if it shouldn't be this hard to do that in what's I consider to be the greatest country, it shouldn't be that hard.
Right.
And that's just what we're fighting for.
All right, and I think it's just real quick, and I'm just going to say this, and I think you'll agree with me. Living in the Central Valley, ag and oil, right? Just because you're anti, big, the Republicans right now are really anti big pharma, right? So you kind of have to ask them, well, because you're anti big pharma, do you hate the employees there? And then they'll be like, oh no, I just hate the corporation, right? So then we have to find a way to parlay that, because what I find too much here in the Central Valley is that if you're pro person, that doesn't mean you're anti-farm or anti-oil worker, right? Like you can be pro-farmer and pro-oil worker without sucking at the teat of Chevron or of Foster Farms or these other local companies, right?
Absolutely. My whole day job as an operations manager for the Regional Water Quality Control Board, I'm going out and doing, we have oil and gas fields, and they're doing stuff with trying to use discharge water into agriculture. That's great. That's a water source. If we can clean up, have great water systems for non-industrial wastewater and use that to kind of fill in the gaps for water that we don't have, that'd be great. My whole thing is talking to folks on an actual level when it comes to farm workers and this whole big pharma, just like you said, they're against big pharma, but not big farms in this area, which is odd to me, because the conglomeration of these ag monopolies is what's really killing the mom and pop farms in my area.
Mm-hmm.
And they're coming in and they're doing this what I liken to a Walmart model in the 90s, early 2000s, where they come in, they can afford to drop the prices on things, and you already have very low outputs anyway in agriculture that people don't get. The amount of waste in agriculture is just mind-boggling when you think we have these mechanized machines that they shake the trees, and what falls and we collect, we may miss 10% of that. And then when it gets to the store, only the pretty ones get put on the shelves and we throw away the rest. There's a phenomenal amount of waste. And so talking about the inputs and outputs of these things and what happens to these family farms that are not able to compete. I had a guy talking to me from the Razor Board talking about table grapes and how it takes for each pack of grapes. They sell them it costs him to produce it in labor and everything, $18 per pallet. And you have these shops in here like Save Mart and Costco and these places that want to only buy it at $18. You're not making a lot of money if it costs you $18 to make it and you can only sell it for $18.
Right.
We're talking about getting into the data of these things. 1989. 37 cents of every dollar that was produced from agriculture went back to the farmer. 2019, where we have the latest data for it, that dropped to 15 cents of every dollar.
God damn.
Back to the farmer.
So what's the point at that point? You might as well just buy some ponies and just give hay rides.
Yeah. So we gotta come up with. Again, I have a big climate issue is another one of my key points, because you can't have a planet where people can't breathe the air or drink the water, and working with farms to to find ways that we can make things mutually beneficial, where we can get federal dollars in to supply farms with drip irrigation to have a more efficient use of water, where we can go in and make get sun farms that shade crops that don't take full sun, so that farmers can have their rows of crops and still get money from that, but they're also then selling power and generating power from solar. So getting these regenerative ag practices and then rewarding those farmers and trying to kind of play to the ego of the farmers, because they're proud of what they produce, right? We feed America. You hear it all the time, where we feed America. They're proud of what they produce. And so instead of vilifying, agriculture for in this area, getting the people to understand and try to make the case that if we adopt certain aspects of regenerative ag practices, if we adopt methods of going organic, if we adopt efficient use of water, that those practices are not only going to be beneficial to you in terms of making money, but also is going to be beneficial to us in terms of cleaner environment. And so that's really kind of the focus when I am out talking to people. I've had people that started out when we started this campaign of don't waste your time going out to talk to farmers. They're probably not going to vote for you anyway. But I've had a lot of conversations with folks on these like 40 acres and smaller that are, their kids are not wanting to go into farming, right, because they see the lifestyle and this and that, and they have a hand that's been with them for 20 years that they would love to sell this property to, but that hand can't afford it. Well, that's a gap where the federal government can come in and say, hey, if you adapt this and this, that's something that we can kind of help with in terms of federal dollars. In the ways that the federal government can use our money as speech, right, or as power, is tremendous in terms of getting benefits from a group that is not, you would not suspect you to be aligned with politically.
I just thought of your new campaign slogan. Healthcare is speech.
Yeah. Healthcare is freedom. That's my whole point. I crashed Devin Nunes' Freedom Fest that he had here a few months ago. I just had a simple question of freedom for who? Because it's not freedom for a woman to decide when and where and if she has a baby. It's not freedom for a person to marry the person that they love. It's not freedom to not be killed by police. It's not freedom to choose what field I go into and still have health care. So it was my simple question. Freedom for who? And when you talk about that it's usually freedom from the government, tyranny of the government for taxes and low taxes. It's like, God. So healthcare is freedom. That's what my slogan. Healthcare is freedom and speech.
Well, now Mikey is your new campaign manager. Tim,
do I get a badge or something?
We get a hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take a hat. We'll get you a shirt too. You got to give us your address. We'll get you a Dig on America shirt so that more people can steal our images. Tim, your closing thought.
Get an NFT.
Your closing thought on campaign finance reform.
So there's a big problem with campaign finance reform in that we're sort of stuck in one place. The Supreme Court has said over and over again that you can't regulate how much money people give to campaigns, and you can't regulate how much money those campaigns spend. So you're left with only a few options. You subvert the campaign finance system with clean election laws in which candidates can only participate voluntarily, or you focus on disclosure requirements where PACs and super PACs and campaigns have to disclose who their contributors are, who their donors
None of
are.
that dark money.
Yeah.
Them darky dollars.
That big house money.
You got to go after dark money. You got to go after collusion, which, you're not, PACs aren't supposed to collude with campaigns, but they fucking do all the time. If you ever want to see a great example of that, back in the day, Stephen Colbert started a super PAC, and he ran for president.
Of course he did.
You saw the interplay between a campaign and a PAC, what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And what they're not allowed to do is very little. And you have to go after the super PACs in their 501c4 designation and really hold them to what they're supposed to be doing, which is social advocacy and not campaigning. Because the law is written so vaguely for what super PACs are allowed to advocate for.
So purposely vague.
Yeah.
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 It says that the majority of what they're supposed to do is supposed to be social advocacy. But the vagueness of the law allows them to really do whatever they want, as long as they don't say we're for this candidate or we're against this candidate. As long as they don't mention candidates, they can do whatever they want. And that's where campaign finance reform is stuck at. And until there's a Supreme Court that would overturn Citizens United or a constitutional amendment happens, there's not much that can happen at a federal level. States can impose their own laws. And it's something that Arizona, Connecticut, Maine, and a bunch of other states have done, is they've put in clean election laws where the program I described before, you raise a certain amount of money, get a certain number of signatures, and then the government will give you a grant. And then at that point, you can no longer accept money. It takes corporations out of the picture. It takes lobbyists out of the picture. And it reduces PAC spending because the PACs have a lot more regulations as well. And that can be done at a state level, at a micro level, but it's almost impossible to do it at a federal level.
But they still get around it by getting to you through cable TV and internet, because those big PAC dollars still are transmitted to CNN and Fox and TNT and all that.
There were PAC dollars in my local municipal election, which was ridiculous. Like there was PAC spending by both the Democrats and the Republicans and unions, and it's like Supreme Court Justice Stevens said, money flows like water. It's like Jurassic Park. Nature finds a way. Money finds a way. It just happens.
That damn grilled cheese PAC just sucks.
It does, and it sucks because it's making people, it's reinforcing people's belief that the game is rigged. So why bother? And it makes it all cyclical.
Sadly, though, the game is unfortunately rigged, but we still have it. It's the why
still
bother
gotta
part
fight.
that we have to get rid of.
Still got to fight.
We got to get rid of the why bother.
Full hearts,
part.
clear eyes, can't lose.
That's correct. All right, so we have one last segment here. Tim will do that story next week. Mikey will get us started. Lourin, if you want to hang out for the cigar part, you're welcome to.
Oh God,
it's up to you, brother.
What was that C3?
And make it sound so unpalatable. Yeah. Hey, you want to hang out for the cigar thing,
Hey, I don't want him to lose an election over your smoking habits.
I want to learn. I see he's got a bottle of Uncle Nearest back there, so it can't be all
Welcome
bad.
to the Humidor with Big Haas.
Oh, there you go.
Find out what Haas is puffing and drinking tonight. If you try his suggestion and you die, that is natural selection.
Baby.
And the DOA podcast is not responsible for you being weak fucking sauce.
Baby.
So now, the one, the only, Big Haas.
What's up, good people? How y'all doing? Now,
Wait, real quick, Lauren, was that not one of the nicest voices you've ever heard?
That was pretty good. Reminded me when I used to call 1-800-SUCK-ME or something. As a kid, you feel it funny, you know?
well, as y'all know, because Dutch has fucking said it a bunch of times, I came in late today. So I am contractually obligated to work with an organization that I love to work with, by the way. And on Wednesday night's podcast night, I happen to work until 10 o'clock Central Time. So I'm late. But I love you guys so much that I dragged my ass in here, even after I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, to come and talk to y'all about great cigars and political stuff and social stuff. So right now, since I was late, I picked a short cigar, even shorter than a Robusto. Okay. Now, this is a cigar brand that is made by a very, very well-known brand. It's called Nub. And one of the reasons it's called Nub is because most of their cigars are under 5 inches in length, giggity. Okay. So I am smoking a Nub Cameroon. All right. Now, this is a Gordo. Okay. And the Gordo is 4-inch by 60 ring gauge. Okay.
It's a thick
So
boy.
it's 4 inches long by 60 in the ring gauge. All right. So a lot of times when you hear the term Gordo, when we're talking about a cigar vitola, it's usually longer as well, giggity, as well as thicker, giggity. But for Nub, the Nub line, their niche is you get the sweet part of the cigar right away. You don't have that introductory 1.5 or 2 inches that you kind of work through, and then it transitions to the meat of the cigar. So this is the Nub Cameroon. Okay. It is made in collaboration with Oliva Cigars. Now, the Oliva cigar brand and all of their lines are amazing. One of my all-time favorites is the Oliva Serie V Melanio Maduro. Oh, fucking phenomenal. However, Nub, even though these are really, really, really good cigars, they get overlooked a lot in cigar culture because they are so short. People see the short cigar, they pass it over because they've been kind of conditioned to go for longer cigars, thinking that they're a better quality. But the Nub cigar is a freaking phenomenal cigar, right? So the Cameroon, the wrapper is a Cameroon wrapper, kind of dark. It feels a little leathery, like a soft leather, like a soft leather jacket.
Tuscan leather.
Okay. The origin of these the tobaccos are Dutch.
Nicaragua.
Correct. All right. So
See how it is.
We got the filler is also Dutch.
Nicaraguan.
That's correct. All right. You like they say though, you get right into the sweet part of the cigar right away. The sweet spot. It's kind of got a little woodsy profile, a little bit of spice. I will say this. It kind of leaves a little bit of a dry toast aftertaste.
Dry toast.
Okay. Like that Blues Brothers toast. You know what I mean?
Like the life toast.
It's a medium. It's like toast, no butter. It's a little dry, but that's okay.
Way to promote it.
No. I mean, some people like that. Some people like a really kind of muted aftertaste because it's not super bland, but it's not a big booming aftertaste, which is fine. You know, and that allows you to experience more of your drink. Now, when I take it and I let the smoke come out and I breathe in through my nose, there's a little bit of a peppery, or if I try to retrohale, there's a little bit of a peppery burn, so I don't do that too much. It's a medium to full body cigar. And this particular blend was the number 23 overall cigar by Cigar Aficionado in 2015. It had a 92 rating. I mean, it burns really good. And it's, like I said, it smokes really well. Got a little of a nut profile to it. Pause.
You're gonna love my nuts.
And when I pair it with my drink, I think in here, in my Stormtrooper drink, my Stormtrooper decanter, I've got some Angel's Envy finished rye. That's what I'm smoking. That's what I'm drinking with this right now. So I definitely get more of the spice.
Is that an Alpha Phi Alpha up there?
That is correct, sir. The oldest and the oldest, the baddest and the boldest.
Nice.
You know.
My brother's a noob.
Oh, really? Poor guy.
My uncle's a noob.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
It's all right. Hey,
I'm a
same
big guy.
destination, different colors. That's all. Same goals, different color car. You know what I mean? But I chose the nub today. Number one, because it was short, but they burn super slow. Like I got on at 59 minutes, so I've been on for about 90 minutes. And I still got about 3/4 of an inch of cigar there to smoke.
Pause.
So, you know, it smokes nice and slow, and it's very, very, very consistent. So that you don't get like normally when you get towards the end of a cigar like this, it gets a little bitter, a little earthy, like super earthy, kind of really bitter, and most people tend to put it out. You know, my thumbs are burning, but it's such a good cigar and it's so well done and it's so consistent still that I'm still trying to smoke on it.
Just let it go, man. You need your fingertips.
It doesn't leave a lot of smoke.
Get you a roach clip.
Man, you know something, dude? I think these two fingers, I just dropped the goddamn cigar. These two fingers on my left hand,
they're numb.
I think they got callus on them or something because I can feel it, but I don't feel it. You know what I mean?
Folks, you see why we got Haas the headset mic instead of the stationary microphone. Because my man is all around the place.
That's right. Hey, and it was the best thing you've done. Because I could be more myself. You know, I don't want to be like,
hey, them Audio-Technica mics are good ass mics. So
you know, I didn't say that they weren't good. I'm just saying.
Hey,
you know,
Tons of Mice says so. It's like a relationship. It turns a little bitter near the end.
If you're in the wrong relationship, if you're in the wrong, you got to question some of the relationships you've been in. Tons. That's all I got to say.
He's married to Jenna Mia.
Someday.
Don't say that.
Someday he will be.
He is.
They're internet husband and wife.
Correct.
All right. So what we got? Where is this one ranking today? I smell a high score.
4.75.
That is very high. Okay.
I like it a lot. Out of 5. And Lauren, the Leafer meter is based on the Source magazine 5 mics. 5 mics being an instant classic.
Now Lauren is prone to, he says, enjoy a cigar here and again, correct?
There you go. What do you smoke, Lauren?
I had one this past weekend, actually.
What'd you have?
The fraternity brothers in town. We smoked Dirts.
Dirt? D-I-R-T?
It's I'd have to look it up.
What fraternity?
I don't ever buy, so they're brought to me, and I say, okay.
What fraternity?
I'm a Theta Chi.
Okay, that's out west.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got some East Coast houses, but
okay, that's cool. That's cool. You know, but yeah, 4.75. It's a really good cigar. You know, I say that it's very underrated because when you talk about cigars and people talk about their favorite cigars or really good cigars, not many people bring up Nub, and I think that's just because they're short, and the trend now is towards the longer Robustos, the Coronas, the Churchills, and things of that nature, the box press torpedoes and things like that. So Nub kind of gets overlooked. But if you ever want a great cigar that's a little bit shorter but long on quality, and the price point is really inviting, because that cigar I got for less than $8, and it smokes like a $15 or $16 cigar.
Can't do
So
it.
you're getting double the quality for what you're putting out in as far as your pocketbook.
Value is a good thing.
Yes.
So hence the 4.75.
Yes, Wayne. Nas only needed one mic.
Mikey, what do you got for us? Bring us home.
That's the only Nas reference that Wayne knows. Don't pay him no mind.
If he doesn't
They
know
didn't have
what
Sam Goody in Middle Earth, there was no Sam Goody.
he should listen to Rewind. That's the song he should listen to. Rewind by Nas. One of the best songs ever penned.
We might have to invite you on to a very special Patreon thing that me and Wayne got going, called Promise You Won't Get Mad. But speaking of Patreon, you should definitely go over to patreon.com/digonamerica. Give us all the money you're going to give Lauren. Oh, hey, Lauren. I didn't know you came back, buddy. But if you guys want to help the little show that could. Oh, he left.
I think we lost him again.
I was just kidding, Lauren.
And now we lost Haas.
Oh, no. They're dropping like flies.
I've been having very bad internet issues, and I'm on what's it called right now. Yeah, so I think there's something screwy going on with the internet. But before Bezos shuts us down forever, please go to patreon.com/digonamerica. Give us all of your Bezos bucks. Every little pledge helps. And once we get to that $100 goal, we're going to start donating a third of that to charity. So if you guys can help out in any way, that would be awesome. But if you can't afford it, you're not really in a position to do so, that's cool too. Make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe, and follow us on Twitter.
And leave us a Google ranking.
Google ratings are great. Apple Podcast ratings are great. Netscape, thank you, Tons of Mice. Netscape ratings are perfect. We love those too.
Safari.
So tell a friend if you can't donate.
Find us on Napster.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my internet's shitting out. So, anything else? Oh, Tim, your show.
So I am getting the band back together for Speaking from the Center. We're going to start doing a new show next week. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. And watch Speaking from the Center and then watch The Dig.
There you go.
Speaking from the Center is Facebook.com/Speaking from the Center, and
no one cares.
I know.
Hey, let me. Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. And can this be like the last word, if that's okay?
Yeah. Real quick though, don't forget next week, everyone, bar night for the day before Thanksgiving. So we have a ton of guests on. It'll going to be a lot of fun. Very little politics. Haas, close us down.
All right. If you're parents of teenagers, I really want to talk about something kind of serious. In the last maybe week and a half, there have been 5 or 6 otherwise, for all intents and purposes, popular, happy, for all everyone knew, successful athletes that are teenage, high school age, that have taken their own lives. So, if you're a parent of a teenager, if you're a parent of a child that is even middle school age, because we've seen it happen in middle school, but or if you are regularly involved with a child of that age, stop and ask them how they are. And when they give you that one word answer, fine, just follow up and say, are you really fine? And talk to and if they say, yes, I'm really fine, just let them know that if there is anything that is bothering them, anything that is troubling them, anything that they want to ever talk about, that you will always be there to talk to them or point them in the direction of somebody that they can talk to. I think that, you know, we ask people if they're fine in general. And when they say, yeah, we say, how you doing? They say, good. We say, all right, good. And we just go about our way. But sometimes, and I've found this out myself talking to my clients, because I work with a lot of high school kids. And one of my high school clients, I said, hey, how you doing? Said, I'm doing okay. I said, are you really okay? She said, no, I'm not. What's going on? I don't know. I'm not okay. And instead of a session for an hour, we spent a half an hour just kind of talking, you know? And then after that hour was over, you know, she hugged me with tears in her eyes and said, thank you so much. You know, thank you for asking, you know? And I think that if we just take that extra 5 seconds, say, how are you doing to whoever we're interacting with, you know? And then when they give you that one word answer that could be real, it could be fake. Are you really okay? Is everything really fine? Because I'm here if it's not. That could mean the world. You could save a life. You never know. Take the time to really give your heart to those people that you say you care about, okay? That's all.
All right.
See you next week.
Bye.